Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the July 16th meeting of the Glendale City Council. Call to order at 6:05 p.m. May we have a roll call?
Councilmember Brotman.
Here.
Garpetian.
Here.
Sakian.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
And Mayor Asdurian.
Here.
Flex.
I actually have invited the children of our park staff to lead us in the park Pledge of Allegiance. We have Alicia Golia, daughter of Gabriel Golia, who is the Community Services Managers at Parks. Rafi Garabedian, son of Seba Garabedian. Laura Garabedian, daughter of Seba Garabedian, and Agape Yusefian, who is the daughter of Arsene Isayans, who manages homeless services and management of parks. If we can please stand up and join them in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Right hand over your heart. Face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for the invocation.
Let's begin by acknowledging that we are standing on the indigenous lands of the Gabrielino Tongva people. As we gather here today, may we have a good sense of the welfare and true needs of people in our community. May we have a keen thirst for justice. May we have confidence in what is good and fitting, and may we have the ability to work together in harmony, even when there is honest disagreements. May we have peace in our lives and joy in our work. Thank you.
Thank you. And what's next?
The agenda for the July 16, 2024 regular meeting of the Glendale City Council were posted on July 11th, 2024 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
All right, and next?
Presentations and appointments, 3A, agenda preview. There will be no meeting on July 23rd. The next regular meeting will be on July 30th, 2024.
Next.
B would be proclamation designating the month of July as Parks Makes Life Better Month.
Great. I'm going to actually read off parts of the proclamation. Do we have staff present who's going to be accepting? Okay, great. The proclamation is pretty long, so just going to pick parts of it. Whereas parks and recreation programs are an integral part of communities throughout the country, including City of Glendale, and are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities. Whereas the Community Services and Parks Department also provides programs to address the basic human service needs of its residents, including senior nutrition meals and case management, youth and family outreach, information and referral, youth employment and youth life skills training, homeless case management, prevention and housing, and job training programs. Whereas the strength of Glendale is increased through intergenerational recreational programs and events for all ages that allow people to play and grow together while providing the opportunity for residents to lead balanced, rewarding, and healthy lives. Whereas the California Park and Recreation Society has released a statewide public awareness campaign, Parks Make Life Better, to inform citizens of the many benefits of utilizing parks, facilities, programs, and services. Whereas South Glendale is experiencing a significant lack of parkland, with only 0.12 acres of park space per 1,000 residents, compared to the LA County average of 3.3 acres. Whereas the City of Glendale stands ready to collaborate with our state representatives to identify potential funding sources and support legislative efforts that prioritize the creation and maintenance of green spaces for the benefit of all Glendale residents and community members. Now, therefore, I, Elena Satrian, Mayor of the City of Glendale, recognize the importance of access to local parks, trails, open space, and facilities for health, wellness, development, inspiration, and safety for our communities, and proclaim July 2024 as Parks Make Life Better Month in Glendale, and call on all of our residents to celebrate by participating in recreational activities and community services and spending time in our community parks. Before I come down, if there are any words you'd like to say or have the children say, please.
Thank you, Mayor Satrian. I'm Gabrielle Golia, Community Services Manager with the department. Parks is a year-round operation. We have programs that run all throughout the year, but summer is obviously our most busy time. We have all of the children out of school, so we are taking care of them at that point in time and running all of our wonderful programs. We have this summer 10 different city-run day camp operations at 8 different sites. We have our robust aquatics program that beefs up during the summer and is much larger than our year-round operations. And we have all of the great special events. So we have concerts in the park. There are 5 more Wednesday concerts. We have concerts, those are at Verdugo Park on Wednesday evenings. We have concerts on Thursdays at City Hall, Parcher Plaza, and the library is also offering concerts at Brand Library. So many opportunities for our residents to come out and enjoy the concerts. And of course, as you can see, we have decorated the chambers this evening for cruise night. So we have all of our Brand Boulevard buildings out here. We have all of our cars out here, and we are ready for cruise night. And our participants will receive a cruise night shirt like I'm wearing. So we are excited to have everybody come out for this free event this Saturday, July 20th, from 5:30 to 10:30 p.m. We want everybody to come and join us for it.
Do any of my colleagues have any comments?
Quick comment, if I may. Of course, parks are the most important, one of the most important aspects of our lives, and my kids went through the programs that we had, and they were great. But as far as cruise night, I think it's one of the best events that we have. And unfortunately, I won't be able to make it this year. Our nephew is getting married, and I tried to even carve out a slot to come out and participate, but I couldn't. So I'm sure it's going to be a great event, and I want everyone to come down and enjoy their day, enjoy the beautiful cars and classic cars, and have a great time. And thank you for organizing it. It's a big event. It's not easy to put an event like this together. Also, this model that you brought here, it looks great. Some of the projects we asked for bringing models. They said it's very difficult to put a model together. Here you go. There it is. It's a great model and nice cars too. Thank you so much.
Councilmember Najarian.
Yes, thank you, Gabrielle, and youngsters. There's going to be some bands, right? So tell us about the bands.
Absolutely. Councilmember Najarian, Mayor Satrian, members of the council. We do have 3 wonderful bands that are going to be playing this year. We have a tribute to Bob Dylan. That's going to be Tambourine Man. That's what our night will start off with at 5:30 p.m., followed by China Grove, which is a tribute to the Doobie Brothers. And then our final band of the evening is going to be the Springsteen Experience, a tribute to the boss.
Those are great. I know those bands. I hope many of the other younger attendees would give them a moment and appreciate some of that, our generational music. How about fireworks? Do we have fireworks this year?
We do. The conclusion of our event will wrap up with a fireworks show behind the main stage. They will begin at 10:30 p.m. after the last song of the Springsteen Experience.
Excellent. Thank you for
Thank you.
staff's hard work in making this a
Thank
success.
If I might, yeah, I'm just curious, who made these?
Seva Gerbetian over here is our mastermind.
Okay. Very good. I thought maybe this was an effort of these kids.
Well, we did have some day campers and staff helping us at
Okay.
Pacific Community Center. So they were hard at work on these all day today.
Okay, well, whoever did it, give them Sevak and the kids and whatever, give them all kudos from us. It's really wonderful. And you guys do a great job. So thank you.
Yeah, I'll also say congratulations. Our parks are the envy of everyone who comes and visits Glendale. Everyone always comments about how nice, clean our parks are. And of course, the programs that you guys run, including the summer camps, which I know are a tremendous help to a lot of working families. And so I want to tip my hat off to you and all of your staff and your department. Thank you very much. We'll see you at Cruise Night.
Thank you.
And I just want to join my colleagues in saying thank you to everyone in the Parks Department. That tend to be sometimes biased because I come from the Parks and Rec Commission, and something that's very near and dear to my heart. But I also recognize the importance of not just having those parks, but the maintenance that goes along with that, the programming, and definitely the need for additional green spaces in our city. I had asked staff when we were preparing this proclamation for it not just to highlight all the wonderful things that come with having a city that has all the park space, but addressing some of the deficiencies in South Glendale when it comes to green space, and this council's commitment to making sure that we're adding to that space. I think each of us on this dais, at least during our campaigns, have made that promise to the residents of the city. And I think just looking at our budget and how we're allocating funding to ensure that we're actually getting a larger green space in South Glendale is going to be critical. I think, since this is I think the third or fourth meeting at this point, but I did want to start a tradition of having the children of our staff do the Pledge of Allegiance on the day where their work is being recognized, because I think a lot of times we have parents that are going home and talking about their work, and I think it's something special to not only have their children join in these chambers during that day, but also see how important the work that your parents are doing day in and day out to make sure that our city is fun and we have concerts and we have parks and they're clean and they're beautiful. And so when they're coming home tired, please also know that they're contributing to the betterment of our city. And thank you for being here today.
Can you guys all see? 2, 3.
Do you want
Thank you.
All right. I'll come down for a photo real quick. Thank you again.
Leave those up there.
Are we going to take this down to the main area of the city hall for everybody else to see for the rest of July? Yes, we are. Okay. All right, what's next?
Next is item 3C, presentation by Glendale Water and Power's new interactive customer engagement solution through SmartVX.
It's Mayor Azerbaijan, members City Council. It's an exciting time that staff is going to present this advanced technology in the hopes of greater customer engagement by GWP customers. With that, I'll turn it over to Giancarlo Alcantara, our Senior IT Applications Analyst, ably assisted by Varsanik Avetisian, as our Public Benefits Charge Coordinator.
Thank you, Rubik. Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. As Rubik said, my name is Giancarlo Alcantara. I'm the Senior IT Application Analyst, and joining me today is Varsanik Avetisian. She's our Public Benefits Charge Coordinator. And we are here to present Glendale Water and Power's newest interactive customer engagement solution through SmartVX. So what is SmartVX? SmartVX is a personalized video solution which tailors specific information to a customer or an individual based on preferences or past behavior. I'm not sure if any of you guys have come across a video like this. It's usually sent through email. The video will address you personally and it'll have some of your personal information. It could be an account number or account information, maybe a bill, maybe a program you signed up for, or maybe even a program that the company wants you to know about, right? And their goal is really just to relay important information and to educate you in the most efficient way possible. The way they do that is using data. So companies, they understand that in today's climate with social media, right, and YouTube and all the video platforms, your attention span's probably not the same as it was before. So it's important for them to grasp your attention, to maintain it, and to provide you the information in the shortest amount of time possible. So they do this by tapping into their system of records and using your personal information or the information they have on file to tailor content to you, again, and provide you relevant content. I have some examples of that and how we're doing that today with our videos later on in the presentation. I think their goal, again, is they know that if it's a personal video, you're more inclined to watch it through, right? So I know for myself, some personal experience of myself, I first came across this video from my mortgage company. They were breaking down my escrow account. I remember They addressed me by name. They had my account information, my loan information, and in the escrow breakdown, they were telling me how much my insurance was going to increase by, and my taxes, and they had a breakdown of my bill and whether it was going to increase or I was getting a credit. So I remember walking away from that experience just really impressed with how they used my personal information and how they were able to tailor that and really cater a video especially to me. So, and at the end of the day, I walked away just with a better understanding of what my escrow account was doing, right? So that, again, the goal is to keep the customer engaged, provide information, and inspire some type of action at the end of the day. So how did SmartVX deployment come to GWP? So it was first introduced to us at a Harris conference in 2022. Harris is our our customer information system. They've been our partner for over 25 years. So I remember walking away from that presentation knowing the impact that a product like this could have, not only for our customers, but for our internal team, right? Because it could allow customer service and marketing. It'll provide them a different tool to help them with their customer engagement. And we brought the product back in-house. We presented it to management and senior management, and we had buy-in from everybody, including the city council. And we began the project in November of 2023. And in a span of 6 months, with the help with many departments within the city, well, within GWP, we had customer service, we had marketing, and we had our business system support team who met weekly. We had to work through scripts, we had to work through translations, we had to work through integrations. And in a short matter of time, 6 months, we had the following videos ready. So as of May of 2024, these are the videos that we are proud to present today. We'll start with our welcome video. So our welcome video is, it's our longest video. It's 2 minutes and 46 seconds. And again, this video is presented to anybody signing up for service with GWP. It introduces them to the utility, some of the services we provide. It shows them how to read a bill, how to view it, and how to pay for it. It also encourages them to sign up for paperless or auto pay, and introduces them to our outage management system and how to go about submitting an outage or entering an outage, as well as our MyGWP account, right? And it also contains links throughout the video to assist the customer in getting quick access to some of these sites and to get the information quickly. Next is our invoice video. This video is sent with every invoice, with every bill that the customer receives. Again, it's a breakdown of the bill. It shows the due date, and then it provides the different options you have to pay, right? You could pay over the phone, or you could pay on our MyGWP site. And there's other options for you to pay. It also provides you a way to contact us. And in this example, going back to having a video tailored to a customer, right? If a customer is already signed for paperless, we don't show them the scene about signing up for paperless. If the customer's already signed for auto pay, we don't show them the scene for auto pay, right? So it keeps the video short, it keeps it to them specifically, and it provides them the information that they need. Next is the past due reminder video. This video, it reminds the customer if their bill is past due, and again, provides the options that they have to pay, different options that they have to pay. And as well, if they're not able to make the payment, we provide them a link to do a payment arrangement, something that's quick access for them. Next is the past due reminder video. The past due final disconnect notice. This is the final disconnect notice, letting them know that they're due for disconnect service right there. Their bill has now been significantly past due, and same as the invoice and the reminder notice. We provide them links with quick access on how to make payments and how to reach our customer service department if they have questions. And then the next set of videos is mostly education. So we have scam alerts. We inform the customers of the different scams that they need to be aware of. Seasonal conservation, tips on how to save energy. Our OMS notification, again, how to go about reporting an outage, different information about what causes outages. We have a scene about mylar balloons and how important those are to make sure that it prevents outages. And then we provide them the information that we have on file, contact information to make sure that it's correct. And if it's not, again, there's a link for them to fix it or contact us to help them with it. And then we have the newest one that we have is the peak alerts. Again, we're in the summer, so we're prepared to send it if needed, but it's again, if there's any peak days that our team decides that we need to conserve energy at that time. We also, the videos again include the call to action. Again, these are the quick links that they have. So we have contact us, paperless enrollment, payment arrangement, portal registration, view and pay bill, report and view outages, and manage notification. And again, these are some of the benefits of these videos. They don't have to go to a different site to get that information, right? We're providing them right there. Also languages, standard is English and Spanish, but knowing our customers in our community, it was important for us to include Armenian, Korean, and Tagalog. So we have all these languages spoken. We have them translated in closed caption transcripts. So a customer could change within the video the language that they prefer. And then the delivery methods, again, we deliver that through email, text, or we have a QR code through the bill print. And we have a video. Before we start the video, I just want to make sure that, with the information that we have posted on the video is a sample, it's not real, right? So, and again, this is a sample of our welcome video.
Hi, Ellen. If you're watching this, you've recently activated service with our utility, and we want to take a moment to welcome you and let you know about resources and programs we offer. You can click any of the links at the end of this video to take the next step. With a proud heritage spanning a century, we provide sustainable and dependable services to over 35,000 water and 94,000 electric customers. Glendale Water and Power offers one convenient combined utility bill for our customers. Your personalized utility bill will include usage charges for electric, water, and other city services. Each individual utility service will be shown separately on the bill so that they can be tracked and viewed conveniently. As our customer, you have full access to your account through our customer web portal. You can manage your account right from your smartphone, tablet, or computer. Plus, you can view and pay bills, review your consumption, and much, much more. With online payments, you can make a payment when it's convenient for you. You can save even more time by signing up for AutoPay. AutoPay allows you to automatically pay your bills on the due date without having to call us or go online. You will be alerted by email each time we receive your payment. Enroll in paperless billing and enjoy the convenience of viewing and paying your utility bill from anywhere. You'll receive simple email reminders that your bill is due, 24/7 online access to your statements, and more through the customer web portal, and reduce your carbon footprint simply by going paperless. If you do experience an outage, there are several ways to connect with us to let us know. Our team is ready to respond 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Using this link, you can check our outage map to see outages in your area, as well as easily report an outage. We also provide real-time information about outages impacting your service through SMS text notifications. For your convenience, we'll automatically sign you up for outage-related text messages if we have your mobile number on file. Thanks for watching, and thank you for being a valued Glendale Water and Power customer. Our priority is to provide you with reliable and quality services. Simply click the buttons on your screen to take the next step. Hi, Ellen.
Did you know they were going to do that? Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Varis Avatisan, and I work with UDP's Community Outreach Team as the Public Benefits Charge Coordinator. I will be sharing with you how we informed our customers about this new offering. Firstly, each of our new videos comes with an introductory message explaining what SmartVX is and how it benefits our customers. And we sent out a direct email to our customers letting them know of this new offering and providing a sample SmartVX video like you just saw to illustrate the advantages. The direct email was sent to a little over 112,000 customers, and we had a 51% open rate on the email. We dedicated a highlight banner on our website homepage that provides information and is linked to our press release. And the press release we issued received coverage from local outlets such as Glendale News Press and CV Weekly, helping us reach a broader audience. We included articles about SmartVX in our bi-monthly e-newsletter and the city's e-newsletter. We had a post on our social media and Nextdoor. And we currently have an ongoing bill message on our bill prints, ensuring that even those customers who prefer traditional communication methods are informed. And lastly, our customer service team has been providing information to our customers through the phone lines and answering questions about SmartVX. Thank you so much for your attention, and please let me know if you have any questions.
Any questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you to staff.
Thank you.
Before I head out, I just want to make sure we thank the GWP responsible again. This was a 6-month project deployment. It took a lot of hard work from many departments, customer service, marketing, and our business system support. So I know some of them are here, so I just want to thank them, and I know people are watching, so I just want to make sure we thank our GWP team. Thank you guys very much.
So, I do have a question. The text messages that I get after the peak days and whatnot, is that through this system?
No.
Or is that a separate system?
Yeah, that's different. We haven't sent these are simply for videos, so.
Just for videos?
Videos, yes.
Okay. All right, cool. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, what's next?
Item number 4, consent items, including minutes. The following are routine and may be acted upon by one motion. Any member of council or the audience requesting separate consideration may do so by making such request before motion is proposed.
All right, we're gonna pull, and we don't know when this item's coming back, but 4B is gonna be pulled off the agenda altogether. 4B, the contract award for the parking garage stairways. But since it's coming back, I'm gonna make a quick comment on that, if I may. I think it would be cool for us to, I know I said this to our city manager, but since it is our garage, and our employees are the ones using it, it would be nice to do some like art or encouraging words on those stairs. I've seen them all over town, and I know I can't say more than that, so I'm just gonna.
I'll just say, Mayor, that this contract's already been bid, and this would be award of a contract per the specs, but we'll look into the future, maybe adding some of the elements that you mentioned.
Okay, thank you. All right, does anyone want to pull any other items?
Oh, no, I have nothing to pull. Why is this item being dropped? Is it being rescheduled? I'm just a little confused.
It will be rescheduled, Councilmember Brotman. There is one document that the contractor needs to provide to us.
Okay, well, I'll move the balance of the consent calendar in that case.
Second.
All right, roll call?
Councilmember Brotman,
Yes.
Garpetian,
Yes.
Kasakian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
and Mayor Asadrian.
Yes. All right. What's next?
Next item would be city council and staff comments.
Mr. Galanian, I have you.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Asatrian. We have two announcements for community meetings that Chief Sid is going to cover quickly.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just wanted to take a quick moment to make sure you were all aware, as well as the community, a couple of, I think, significant community events that the police department is a part of coming up here over the next few weeks. The first is, as is up on the screen, coming up Tuesday, August 6th is our annual National Night Out event. I know you all have been in years past. It's one of my favorite events. It is a kind of a full pull for us as a police department in collaboration with a bunch of different neighborhoods across the city, and it's an opportunity for our residents, business owners, so on and so forth, to come out, engage with your police officers, at most locations, eat some amazing food, partake in games, a really, really good time. Again, coming up Tuesday, August 6th. It'll start in the evening, late afternoon, evening hours, well into the night. I think we've got, a total of 19 different locations across the city, ranging in size and scope. So looking forward to seeing all of you out there and invite everybody in our community to come out and enjoy. The next event that I just wanted to highlight coming up, it's a little ways out, but just wanted to put it out on your radars, August 21st. It's kind of a self-initiated traffic town hall that we're going to put on as a police department in our community room over at the police department. Just to take an opportunity, traffic safety, traffic education continues to be obviously a priority for us as a city and certainly as a police department. So it'll be an opportunity. It's going to be put on by the traffic bureau, so traffic staff and the leadership of that bureau, and allow for folks in the community to come out, engage these folks, ask questions about our enforcement efforts, identify problem and challenging areas, talk about things like Vision Zero, scope and severity of different traffic issues around the city. They range and they vary depending on different parts of our city. So just an opportunity to kind of have folks come out, educate them about some of the things that we're doing, some of the things we're trying to do, hear some of the feedback that we get from different segments of the community, but everything that is traffic enforcement, traffic safety, traffic education, August 21st, starting at 6 p.m., again at the Glendale PD Community Room. Unless there's any questions, that's all I have.
Just want to say thank you. And as I'm looking at this town hall flyer, I think it also serves as an opportunity maybe for our community development department to maybe have some sort of survey with the PD where we can collect information and have data, not just from what people say, but actual like surveys people can take. That could help with our Vision Zero, with our pedestrian safety plan, with our bike plan, and whatever other plan we have in the city.
Sure.
Opportunity. Thank you.
Actually, I do have a question. Since we don't have, Vision Zero hasn't come to us, so we don't have a Vision Zero plan. So what is it we're discussing here?
It's really the spirit of it, if you will, right? Trying to drive down traffic fatalities, traffic injuries, while we don't have an official plan, understood, but that those principles still apply as general good practice in trying to, again, minimize traffic collisions and get to a place of the ultimate goal of Vision Zero, which is to not have any traffic fatalities. So just the efforts that kind of surround that general principle.
Okay, because, I mean, the idea of Vision Zero is that it's cutting across functions, right? It has to do with engineering, has to do with, traffic engineering. It has to do with lots of different things, right?
Which is, I think, true in general of traffic safety as a whole, right?
Yeah, so discussing it kind of with the enforcement angle, I think misses the big picture of Vision Zero. So I don't know if you want to collaborate. Maybe you want to bring in, community development, the people that are working on Vision Zero. If you're making this a Vision Zero presentation, I think it should probably be a little bit different than normally where you're just kind of taking community input on, what people are feeling and seeing and talk about enforcement and that kind of thing. I just put that out there as a caution.
Understood, and I would just highlight enforcement and education is part of our kind of purview and our piece of that. Totally understood that we're one piece of traffic safety. We'll definitely, in line with the mayor's comments, collaborate with CDD and/or Public Works and see if there's a space for them to be a part of it. But again, it's just really trying to certainly highlight our piece from the PD side of it in the way of traffic enforcement, but again, also traffic, safety education.
Yeah, Councilman Brotman, I do believe that the intention is the general philosophy of Vision Zero as opposed to our city's Vision Zero, that you are correct, hasn't been adopted yet. And there's work being done towards that.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
Got it. Thank you.
One last question from me.
Just when you
Sorry,
thought
Chief.
you were
It's all
out.
right. It'll be all right. The report that you provided to us on June 5th, the traffic safety OTS and all-state report. Actually, I have some questions about it. I know the time is not today. If it can, I know that I was told that it will be agendas and there will be a report and everything. Would that be part of that presentation that you have on? It's all about the public safety and the collisions that we had, all the numbers and the stats, and basically how do we rank against other cities and what.
Sure. The intention was not to specifically have that report. We will definitely have general traffic-related statistics, not necessarily just that report or just that memo.
I appreciate it. Thank you. So, thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
That's.
Thank
Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Kasakian?
Thank you. This last week, I accompanied City Manager Galanian, yourself, to the Independent Cities Association Conference in San Diego on Coronado Island, an annual summer conference that takes place every year and we've participated in before. So that's where I was last week, and we heard a number of interesting presentations. The two most interesting that I thought were very informative, one was by the legal counsel that had sued the state on behalf of a number of cities for SB 9 and what they felt was an unconstitutional law that the state had passed, and they have so far prevailed. Their comments about how that applies to other charter cities and general law cities, I thought that was a very, very interesting discussion, something I would encourage our staff to look into and follow very, very closely, because I think that's going to potentially impact other decisions that are being made in Sacramento that are eroding local control, and I think it's important to be well informed on that. I brought back an article from the Daily Journal that one of the litigators had written, and I'll try to share that with my colleagues. And the other discussion or presentation that I thought was very interesting was the use of artificial intelligence. Everyone has heard of AI in city operations and what cities are doing with it. AI has been at the forefront of a lot of discussions out in the media and articles, mostly surrounded by the fear of it eliminating jobs. Certainly there are certain jobs that will be impacted by what artificial intelligence can do, but the presentations we heard actually provide a lot more interesting opportunities of how cities can use AI to address issues, problems, and come up with ideas that would take staff much longer to do than can be done through AI. And it can help staff actually oftentimes be more efficient at their jobs. So that was my takeaways from the Independent Cities Association Conference. We've had a number of losses in our community. I was very saddened to learn the other day that we lost a longtime community activist member, someone who was very active with the libraries. Anne Rundle had passed, and I found out about it through reading one of the newsletters I received, as well as hearing about the loss of Tom O'Shaughnessy, U.S. Army veteran, very active in the local Democratic Party. He passed away. And lastly, someone who was a longtime active member of the Armenian American community, Dr. Edward Marutkhanian, who had passed, and at future times, when appropriate, I'd like to share the bios of these individuals. I also received a letter from someone related to a property, some developments at 1800 through 1830 Marion Drive. I forwarded that to the city manager requesting for council to look into issues related to making certain improvements. I believe it's something that council has to look at if there's any changes that can be authorized for these homes to be completed. I guess council about maybe 20 years ago or so, or maybe less than that, had made certain decisions about street improvements, and it's related to that. So I forwarded that to Mr. Galanian. I'd like to see if it's something that we can bring back and decide whether we want to agendize or not for council discussion. My colleagues may have also received a similar letter. Lastly, well, I see Judge Amy Ashwanian, who has joined us in the chambers. Thank you for joining us, Judge. Good to see you. And lastly, I think I speak for many, many people, if not all of us, say that the events over the weekend, the assassination attempt on former President Trump's life at a presidential rally, is something that really strikes to the core of what is wrong with some of the political dialogue and discourse in this country, and how people, there are some people, some very disturbed individuals, who believe that they can take certain actions to change the course of our democracy, to change the outcome of elections through violence. There is no place for violence in any level of our system of governance in the United States. We fight our battles with each other at the ballot box, sometimes on the dais, and then when it's over, we agree to disagree, and when we go about our days collectively trying to make our country, this nation, the greatest nation on earth. I'm glad that no serious harm came to the former president, and I hope that this will be a wake-up call to all of us to work more closely together versus against each other. So thank you. Those are all the comments I have for my comments this evening.
Councilmember Najarian.
Thank you. So this is I guess, a request for an explanation, and maybe put it on the new business agenda next meeting. There was an item on our agenda as it was published regarding La Crescenta Avenue. And all of a sudden, after being published, it was taken off. I'm not sure how that's done or why it was done, but if there is no policy for that, I think we should develop a policy. I know the mayor has some discretion in timing of things to come on the agenda, but once something gets on the agenda and published, I don't think it should be able to be removed unless it comes before council. So maybe next meeting we can set a policy on that, or if there's an explanation for that, you can perhaps save it for that time. But it was a little weird because things usually don't disappear like that once they're published, once they're on.
Mayor, council members, Councilmember Najarian, I can provide a brief explanation if you'd like, or we can agendize it on the new business item, and we can can make your case for a deeper dive and perhaps establishing a policy on removal of already published agenda items.
Why don't we wait and perhaps get an explanation and decide whether there's a policy and whether a report may warrant developing a policy.
I'm going to hold my comments until this item is discussed next week. I have a lot to say on that, on the proposal. Anything else, Councilmember Najarian?
That's all.
All right. Oh, you didn't have your, please go ahead. I thought you didn't have comments.
My electronic eye was not up, sorry. Well, I wasn't here last week. Sorry, I missed the meeting. We were, out on a vacation, long overdue. Happy belated 4th of July, everyone. I hope everyone had a great time. There are a few items I want to talk about. One, I received a call from one of our constituents who lives on Lorraine Avenue and Viola, and this GWP director is here. Maybe if you can take a look at that area, they say it's very, very dark at night and it's kind of not safe to walk around. I know we cannot have lampposts or lighting everywhere, but if you can take a look at that area, that would be great. Also, whenever appropriate, maybe have a brief report, this is for our city manager, on the lampposts that, the historic lampposts that are being renovated and painted or what have you, repaired. If you can have a report on that, I would appreciate it. It doesn't have to be next week, whenever it's ready. I think all of us have received an email regarding a property on Ross Street, that there are some issues with it or what have you. You have
Yeah,
received the
some
same?
time ago.
And I received another one. So maybe we can take a look at it and see what the issues are. They said they're having, hosting weddings or what have you. I don't know what the situation is, so I don't want to step over the line. But if we can take a look at it and see if it's something that has to be addressed. I already mentioned the traffic report that was provided to us. If city manager can, my understanding was that it's going to come back, because if you have questions, it could be answered. Whenever it's appropriate, you can maybe agendize that one and bring a report back. And as far as the council member Kasakian's comments about the League of California Cities, and these different cities come together and file a lawsuit against the state, and they're winning that SB 9 lawsuit. There are other issues that are affecting our local control and is being taken away little by little. One of them is the state law that increased the SB 1818 35% density bonus to 50%, but on the other hand, they're saying that they don't have to provide any parking for any of the projects. So you can build a project and the city cannot deny a project based on lack of parking. And I think it's very important to understand that, yes, we are going towards a lifestyle maybe in the future that many people may not drive their cars, but everyone has a car. Every family has at least one car. You need to provide parking for them. And that would be one of the subjects that we can, if there is a challenge being filed, we can maybe join them at that time. And lastly, I think there was I want to just talk about Brand Boulevard very briefly. I know we go about it every week. I don't want to stir the water any dirtier, but there was a video that there was an SUV in a bike lane on Brand Boulevard. We need to have more enforcement over there to reduce this dangerous situations. And also, I would like to know when is the report coming back for this council to decide which way we're going. Are we going to finish this project the way it's proposed, or it's going to be turned back to its original condition? Whatever the decision is going to be, I think we have to make that decision sooner than later to reduce these dangerous situations that, it's just happening. Maybe people are not used to this kind of situation on that side of the street. And that's all I have. I think we just need to get this project one way or the other. There's 5 of us. We all have different opinions about different projects. Let's bring it back as soon as possible. When the report is ready, I know we're doing a study as to what the results of this demonstration project is. Let's bring it back, take a vote, one way or the other, make a decision and move forward. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Brahman, do you have any comments?
No, I actually don't today.
Thank you. Just a couple of things I'll note. During the ICA conference, in speaking to some of the other council members, we've talked a lot about this when it comes to the inability or the desire, rather, of building condominiums, which tend to be, the starter homes for many. But looking at collaborating and maybe starting something with other cities, with different mayors and council members signed for changes to the law that requires the liability. That has become the issue for developers not wanting to build condominiums. It was a conversation I had with one of the council members in Santa Monica, who said that, this is something that they've been talking about as well, but I would like for us to maybe look at who we could partner with, or if we can have some larger joint letter. And with that, I would love for us to set some date for us to do an advocacy day for the city of Glendale. I would love to include also our school district and community college, and any organizations that we think could benefit from this. But we've talked about this time and again. There's a lot of resources available, not just through our elected leaders on the state level that can help get us funding, but also the different departments. And I would like to see something from our lobbyists that they can put some comprehensive advocacy days for us together. I did get a request from the Central Library to adjourn this meeting in the memory of Aline Helm, Merchant Demakis, and I recognize that Councilmember Kasakian also mentioned some names
I haven't
earlier.
made any requests for adjournment.
Adjournments, okay. So I'll hold their bio till the end, but just wanted to make a note of that. Right, what's next?
Mayor, next is item number 6, community event announcements, 3-minute portion, 5 speakers limit per mayor. That is, I do have one card, and that is Tamara Movsesian.
Does she need a translator? Mr. Ajamian?
Tamara. Ayo. No, mega gali sema.
Ես համբերատար եմ, բայց որ ջղայդացա Աստված հեռու տանի։
Mekvayden gali satsazit.
Is there someone else?
I do not have another caller or card submitted for the 3-minute portion. She is the only one.
My
Խոսեմ
colleagues are
հայր
okay.
է, թե չէ։
Ես կարծում եմ մեկ րոպե սպասեք, հիմա մեկը կգա
Մի քիչ
թարգմանից
բարձր ասա, լավ չեմ լսում։
Հիմա մեկը կգած ես համար թարգմանի, որ բոլորը հասկանան, and just for the record I said someone's
Դուք
coming to
իրավիճ
translate.
խոսալուց կաված եք խոսում։ Ոնց որ ուզում եք ձեզ այս բացի ոչ ոք չլսի չեք ասում։ Մի քիչ բարձր խոսեք։
Tamara, you go.
Այդ ասածիցս դուրս։ Բարի տղա ջան։
Հրամեցեք։
Ուրեմն ձեզ բոլորիդ լավ ծանոթ, երևի Վարդանից բացի, որտեղ ժամանակ Վարդանը դեր City Council member չէր, շատ լավ ծանոթ senior citizen-ների շենքում Մոնտերեյի վրայի հուլիսի 2-ին մահացավ մի կին իր ապարտմենտում, երբ որ պարամեդիկները կանգնած էին իր դռան առաջ միջանցքում։
As most of you might know, other than Vartan, who wasn't a council member back in the day, there was a lady who passed away in one of the old senior citizen buildings where the paramedics were standing in front of her house.
Որովհետև դրած այդ շենքում դեց կողպեկներ, լաքեր, որ մագնիտով են աշխատում։ Իսկ մաստերքի կա մենակ Միգելի մոտ, մի հոգու մոտ, որը կարող է բոլոր դռները բաց անի։
This building was equipped with special locks that work magnetically, and the key was only held by one person by the name of Miguel, who was able to unlock those locks.
Մինչև նրա գտել են, այդ կինը արդեն այդտեղ մահացել է։
Until they found him, that lady had passed away.
Այդ նույն շենքում 2021 թվի գարդանից բոլորի բաժանեցին շենքում ապրողներին այս թուղթը։ Սա waiting list-ը, որը լրացնում է եւ դրանք, ովքեր նոր պետք է մտնեին այդ շենք։
Որմեկ թվականին։
Հաջա։
Որմեկ թվականին։
21 թվականին թղա ջան։
Since spring of 2021, this paper was passed to all the residents in the building, which is a waiting list paper application, and everyone was recommended to fill it up.
Ամբողջ շենքում բոլորը չստորագրել են այս թուղթը կամավոր, առանց հասկանալու սա ի չարշարակում, մի հոգուց բացի։
Everyone signed this paper without understanding what it entails, except one person.
Այդ մի հոգուն ի պատիժ սկսել են հետապնդել եւ դեկտեմբերի 22 թվականի դեկտեմբերի 22-ին Քրիսմասից առաջ ներկայացրել է մենեջերը այս նոթիսը, որ դուս ահանում են մեկին շեյքից, որովհետեւ այս թուղթը չի ստորագրել։
They searched for this individual, and then starting December 22nd of 2022, they presented him with this eviction notice, asking him to leave.
Ayesa, Kimberly Johnson,
And this is the individual, Kimberly Johnson,
manager.
the manager.
Հետո, քանի որ էլի այս թուղթը չի ստորագրվել, բայց տեղյակ է եղել իրենց ղեկավարությունը Դուարտեյում, տեղյակ եք եղել դուք բոլորդ, որովհետև ես էլի եմ ասել այս շենքի մասին, տեղյակ ա եղել եւ տեղյակ այսինքն հիմա եւ FBI-ը, որ այս շենքում վերանորոգման ընթացքում եղել են շատ խախտումներ, որի հետևանքով իրենք փող են կերել։
This was presented to the property management or to the owners of the building in Duarte, and as you might know, and I will present this to you again, that there was a lot of misconduct that took place during the renovation processes of this building, and there was a lot of money that was basically stolen during the process.
Embezzled would be
Embezzled.
Հիմա դուք մտածեք, ինչ եք անելու։ Դուք եք սա անելու, շարունակելու, թե FBI-ը։ Դրանից բացի, այս նույն մարդուն, ով չի ստորագրել այս թուղթը, հուլիսին ներկայացվել է դատական թուղթ, որ դատի են տալիս, եթե չստորագրեց այս թուղթը, պետք է դատարանով eviction անել, որովհետև այդ մարդը ասել էր, որ մենեջերը իրավունք չունի eviction անելու, մինչև դատարանի որոշում չլինի, ոչ մեկին տնից դուրս անելու իրավունք չունեն, թող գլեդելի բոլոր բնակիչները իմանան, ու չվախենան, որ տանտերը կարող է իրանց տնից հանի։
I'm not sure whether you're going to act on it now or the FBI, but this resident was presented by a court order to appear, and then he was forced to sign this paper. He said that the management company cannot require him to sign this paper, and that he will not sign it until he goes to court, and he's ordered by the court to sign that paper.
Դատի տալուց հետո էլի այս թուղթը ուրիշ թղթերի հետ դրել են, որ ստորագրի այդ անձը։ Բայց հասկանալով, որ սա նույն թուղթն է, էլի չի ստորագրել։ Մինչև այսօր չի ստորագրել։ Իրանք ստիպված բավարարվեցին մի ուրիշ թղթերով, որը տան վարձի բարձրացման մասին էր, եւ ստորագրել տվեցին։ Օգոստոսի 22-ին ստորագրել են տվել, բայց թղթերի մեջ գրած է օգոստոսի 1-ը։
The defendant was presented with a bunch of paperwork that he was supposed to sign, and in the paperwork was mixed in this application that I presented to you. When that person noticed this paperwork and they realized what it entails, they didn't sign it. And then the management company came to an acceptance where they agreed on a deal for the person to sign a form that highlighted a rent increase.
Ms. Movsesian, your time is up.
Ինչքան թարգմանեցիր։
Your time is up.
Որտեղ թարգմանեցիր։
Մինչև որ իրեն
Հա 22-ին ստորագրել է տվել, բայց օգոստոսի 1-ը նշանակե թղթերի մեջ իրան ձեռագրով։
And then he signed the paperwork on August 21st. However, they put the date on the paperwork as August 1st.
Okay. Տիկին Թամարա, ժամանակը վերջացել է։
Ժամանակը վերջացավ,
Բայց եթե խնդրում եմ Տիկին Թամարա,
հետո հետ է վերցրի
Տիկին Թամարա, ժամանակը վերջացել է, եթե կարող եք այդ թղթերը խնդրում եմ փոխանցեք իրեն, որտեղ ուզում եմ ես ապայման տեսնեմ։
Քսերակապի արեք, ինձ հետ տվեք։
Չէ, թող ինքը մի հատ նկարի։ I'm asking her to provide the papers. Okay. Տիկին Թամարա, խնդրում եմ հանձնեք իրեն։ Շնորհակալություն։
Դատի չեն տվել
Շնորհակալություն։
որովհետև սխալ է։
Mr. Ajamian, can we make sure we get a copy of all of that? And I know that she's brought this forth before. I don't know if staff has taken a look at it, but all right, we don't have any more callers or.
Madam Mayor, no callers and no cards.
All right, great. Next item.
Next item is an action item, management services regarding consideration of amendment to city investment policy to prohibit investments to city funds in or related to the Republic of Azerbaijan. One resolution amending the city's investment policy to prohibit investments in or related to the Republic of Azerbaijan and conducting a review of all funds to ensure compliance with these principles. Madam Mayor, I do have a card for this item.
Okay, great.
Do we have a report?
Yes, Madam Mayor, Member City Council, on May 7th of this year, the City Council directed staff to conduct research and prepare a report to further explore indirect investments via public funds and or related to the Republic of Azerbaijan. The report contains the results of that research in quite a detail. The city treasurer has confirmed that the city of Glendale, in accordance with the California Government Code, is not permitted to have direct foreign investments. This slight modification to the city's investment policy will ensure that there are no indirect investments in any Azerbaijani securities through the commingling of funds with U.S.-based mutual funds. The recommendation is that the City Council adopt a resolution to amend investment policy that was adopted on September 19, 2023. Mr. Manoukian, our City Treasurer, is also available if you'd like to add any more details to my report or you have any questions of it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Golanian. Rafi Manoukian, City Treasurer. I just want to state unequivocally that I'm in favor of divesting any funds, any city funds, from Azerbaijan, including Turkey. And as the city manager stated, and I want to be clear on it, the city of Glendale doesn't have any direct or indirect funds invested with Azerbaijan. The public might view this item that is on the agenda and think that the reason the council is putting this item on the agenda is because the city treasurer is investing funds, city funds with Azerbaijan or any other foreign country. We are not. At this point, I think it's more meaningful to pass a resolution that calls on PERS, who has investments in Azerbaijan, to divest itself from those investments. And on a second note, in terms of reporting to the city manager, the city treasurer's office reports on a monthly basis to the city manager, to the city council, to the director of finance and the internal audit on a monthly basis. And on a quarterly basis, we give a report to the investment advisory committee. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I do have a question, if I may.
Okay.
When we're speaking about indirect investments, how does the city check for those indirect investments?
We don't commingle funds with any other funds. We are permitted to invest in mutual funds. If we do invest in mutual funds, we have to do the research, make sure that they comply with the state code as well as the city's policy by looking into their investments. Currently, we don't have any investments with mutual funds. Most of our investments are federal agencies, some corporate bonds, and treasuries and municipal bonds that are all U.S. based.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Manoukian, you mentioned PERS having investment in some sort of an investment in Azerbaijan.
That is correct.
What kind of an investment is it? Do we know the dollar amount? Do we know the magnitude of it? And how do we divest from that? How do we separate ourselves? Because, you know, the way we are dependent on PERS or we are connected to PERS, how do we divest from that? I think we need to do that. I'm all for it, but
I understand.
you know, but
From what I read, I think it's approximately $170 million of PERS funds are invested in Azerbaijan. Considering the amount of funds that PERS invests, that is a drop in the bucket, actually. For them, it makes no difference. And for us to be able to affect policy changes at the PERS level, we need to get people elected at the state level. State treasurer is on the PERS board. There's a number of other officials, and there are appointed officials that are on the PERS board some of them are voted in on an annual basis. So if we want to affect the policy of the PERS board, we need to be on the board. Otherwise, it's up to them to take our suggestions, our resolutions, or ignore them. There's a number of times that they have ignored and they have gone against assembly bills that suggest that they divest from Azerbaijan. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they also have an ESG policy which they don't really follow, which they should follow.
I can actually speak to that a little bit. Obviously, during my time as the executive director for the Armenian National Committee of America, we launched a whole divestment campaign, which also included divestment for the state of California and PERS. I will note that I've spoken to some of you individually on this, but I think one of the most stark moments for me when I was running for state assembly was being called into a meeting with the California School Employees Association, which that meeting actually ended very heated. One of the questions on there was if I would support divestment of any type, and of course my answer was yes, divestment from Turkey and Azerbaijan, as has been the case in my previous work. I will say that that discussion turned extremely aggressive during the meeting and the interview, to a point where I basically cut that interview short, which was then responded by an apology. But what I will say is that each of the individuals running for state assembly or state senate or any other, it's not just PERS, but it's also the members of PERS, right? And so if we are a member of PERS, then we have an opportunity to, you know, make our own statement as a city to them and our own request, but also team up with other entities that have members in calling on that. And, you know, for me at least, I'm gravely concerned about and interested to hear what other candidates that are running for higher office are answering to that question when there's millions of Armenian Americans that live in the state of California. And so I welcome the opportunity and for us to actually pursue that as a city, but also think about how we're partnering with others to, you know, make this a larger issue. Because, you know, if this is part of a conversation during endorsement interviews, then I have a lot of questions about where the values stand. And some of those state organizations have our local chapter members that could also speak to that. And so I would say that the only comment I do have on this is if we are going to move forward with adding an Azerbaijan, I would like to add to that list Turkey. I don't know why it's just Azerbaijan, given the history and given the current situation in both Armenia and Artsakh. And just for the record, I'm going to keep referring to it as Artsakh. So, it looks like I have some colleagues that have comments. Okay.
Do you want to go to the card first, or you want to?
No, well, let me take.
Okay,
Did you have questions or comments?
No, I had mostly a comment.
If Councilmember Brahman, if it's a comment, then do you want to hold?
I'll hold.
Does anyone have questions?
Yeah, I think it would be fair to have everyone comment. A few of us have already commented, but it's fine. I'll defer to you, Madam Mayor.
Do you have a question?
It's a question for Mr. Manoukian. So I think the direct investment is easy. The indirect is a problem. If the U.S. gives military aid to Azerbaijan and we buy U.S. bonds, isn't that an indirect investment?
That is a question for you, actually, because it's your policy.
Yeah, I mean,
And
but
if you want to include it in your policy, you can. Therefore, we can't buy U.S. Treasury bonds, right?
yeah, we need to discuss that because that would be
Right.
an indirect investment. And I'm not sure how the waiver, the 907 waiver turned out, but there's still, despite military aid, I'm sure there's other aid that they're giving, so yeah, we need to talk about that, I guess. So that's my question.
That throws out the whole portfolio.
Yeah, that's what I'm,
It just,
I
that's what I'm
piggyback
saying.
off of that.
All right.
Okay,
Councilmember.
wait, before you leave, I'll just piggyback off of that because
Okay.
it's something I've thought about, but I didn't really think we wanted to go down that rabbit hole. But we invest in financial institutions.
Yes.
Financial institutions finance oil and gas projects in Azerbaijan, right? I would
No.
assume. No?
no.
No single U.S. financial institution
Well,
is financing oil and gas in Azerbaijan or Turkey?
if they are, well, we're not investing in any oil and gas, actually, investment in any companies that drill for oil and gas, because.
But are we
that's-
investing in like JP Morgan? Do we hold a JP Morgan
No,
bond?
we don't hold JP Morgan.
No bank, no financial institution?
We hold insurance companies,
Okay,
so Mass Mutual, things of that sort.
okay.
Not necessarily banks.
No banking institutions, no lending institutions?
If we do invest in banks, it's short-term and it's commercial paper, basically.
Okay, but that
So-
would be kind of maybe even a more immediate
Right.
indirect than what we're talking about with U.S. government, you know,
Right.
because we'd be talking about an institution that is making direct loans, but you're saying
Right.
we don't have those.
We don't have those at this
Okay, but I would kind of see that as the first order of indirect investment, right?
But it's-
Second
it's-
order might be, you
Right.
know, U.S. government.
It's still against our policy, though, because our policy covers all our investments. So we have to look, if we are going to invest, let's say with JP Morgan, we have to look at their background and see if they're doing any oil drilling or oil exploration. And if they're investing in that, in addition to investing in Azerbaijan, then we shouldn't be investing in that, and we won't.
I mean, I would think pretty much all of the large money center banks have investments in, certainly in Turkey, if not Azerbaijan. So that would basically rule out any large financial institution,
That I
right?
cannot speak to because I haven't done the research and I
Right.
can't.
But I mean, I think it's probably a pretty good assumption. And so that is something worth talking about. Like, do we want to take it to that level of indirect investment? I mean, not being able to invest in any U.S. securities, now like, what do we have left?
That goes back to what Councilmember
So,
Najarian
okay.
was saying, yeah.
Okay.
Right. Councilmember Kasakian, did you want me to take the comment card before?
Well, I'd like to speak to some of the comments that were made. I think that there's a little bit of some maybe confusion, and maybe I'm mistaken in this, but in terms of what the purpose of this is to put Glendale on record. I understand how PERS makes its decisions, Mr. Manukian. I understand how these investments indirectly are made by other institutional investment funds, but I think having a city of Glendale's size on record, being the first domino to fall in a whole series of cities that have to go on record saying that we want our taxpayer dollars that are invested in CalPERS to comport to ESG standards is a very significant step. Even if it's just performative in the minds of some, it's important for us to start that conversation. And to the comments being made by some of my colleagues as to how investments are being done in other funds, look, there are a lot of funds associated with Azerbaijan, not including their sovereign wealth fund, but also their nationalized gas company, I think it's SOCAR if I'm not mistaken, and others, that are commingled with other funds at a time when Wall Street and many investment funds are going through their portfolios with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that there are no funds in there that do not agree with these ESG standards, which are becoming more prevalent in the financial world. I know that there are individuals here to speak on it. I know that Edgar Magurchan is here from the Armenian Bar Association. He is probably by far one of the better informed individuals on this, having worked in the field. And I'd like to ask him to come forward and answer a few of these questions, Madam Mayor, if you would allow him. I know he has submitted a card already, but I think he can speak to that point and probably explain it better than I could, because I've said this time and time again, and during my master's program, finance was not my strong suit in terms of subject matter.
If I may, that's the only card we have? Is it the same card?
Madam Mayor, we have 2 cards for this item. Now we have 3 cards.
All right.
And while he's coming up, I do want to also set the record straight and say last year, the United States Senate unanimously reauthorized Section 907 of the Freedom Support Act. So to say that there is no movement on this, or that our nation's leaders are not making any move, unanimous, and just to clearly state what that was, they stopped military aid to Azerbaijan. So in terms of weapons being sold, listen, all sorts of things happen in Washington, D.C. I'll be the last person to, try to rationalize how Washington and the leaders in Washington do what they do. But in terms of the political momentum on this, the wind is in the sails of justice. We ought to be on the right side of that.
All right. Mr. Makashan, if you can please make your comments, and then I believe we have some areas I think you can clarify.
Certainly.
You have 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Beyond the 3, so why don't you make your statement for 3 minutes, and then if we have follow-up questions, maybe you can answer them for us. Thank you.
Certainly. Honorable members of the City Council, my name is Edgar McCurchin, and I'm here on behalf of the Armenian Bar Association's Investments Committee. I want to start off by thanking the leadership of this City Council, the City Treasurer, and other staff and stakeholders who've all had a part to play in this process. This is a team effort, and it's important to recognize it's occurred over the course of several months. And I'm here to express my gratitude for your decision on this. This policy change prohibits very specific and discrete investments. So I'll answer that question of directness and indirectness by reference to the specific language, which is actually quite specific. And I think this is an important opportunity to show solidarity with our sister city. Our sister city experienced ethnic cleansing, and the city of Glendale can go on record in saying that that is not something that comports with our community values. And we're happy to offer any technical assistance needed in implementing this policy change. And I want to thank you again for your leadership and commitment to justice. Your decision today reaffirms Glendale's dedication to ethical investments and global responsibility. So thank you so much. If I may, I'll answer Councilmember Brotman's question with respect to the directness, the degree of directness or indirectness. So this investment policy, Section 2 specifically, if you have it in front of you, it prohibits 2 categories of investments. 1, sovereign debt issued by or relating to the government of Azerbaijan. So this would be the government of Azerbaijan issuing bonds to borrow money. This would be state-owned companies. So the state-owned oil company of Azerbaijan issuing bonds or borrowing money. So state-owned entities. The city of Glendale does not have any investments in any Azerbaijan state-owned investments, and that would actually be prohibited, as the city treasurer has pointed out. It also prohibits, and I think this is the clause that is causing much of the agita, investments in any other entity which in any way directly or indirectly derives more than 10% of its gross revenues from the Republic of Azerbaijan. So the US government does not derive any gross revenues from the Republic of Azerbaijan. JP Morgan almost certainly does not derive more than 10% of its gross revenues from the Republic of Azerbaijan. So this is meant to make it very specific and targeted. It does not apply to Procter & Gamble. I'm sure Procter & Gamble sells products in Azerbaijan as well. They likely don't derive more than 10% of their gross revenues from that country. So hopefully that responds to the question, but I'm happy to answer.
Do we have additional? Please, go ahead.
Yeah, so the 10%, and I appreciate it, I wasn't aware of that. Is that where does that come from? It seems like a very high threshold, because obviously no major bank is going to have, even if you add Turkey, you're probably not going to get to 10%.
That's exactly right. It was picked to be a de minimis threshold such that only Azerbaijan-specific focused entities came under the scope of this. And we didn't want to draw in the JP Morgans, the Procter & Gamble's, the global multinationals, IBM, Microsoft. I'm sure Microsoft sells Microsoft Word in Azerbaijan and to the government of Azerbaijan, but that's not really what the intent and scope of it is.
Okay, that's clear. Thanks.
Any other questions for Mr. Mukherjee? All right, great. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Are there any others?
Yes, we have two more.
I have a Stephen
Back up just so I can.
Stephen Dadayan. You have 3 minutes. Can you come up to the podium, please?
Good evening, members of the council, the mayor. I was just going to say exactly what Edgar just told you. I'm here on behalf of the Armenian Bar Association as well. I'm the vice chairman, and I think I spoke here a few months ago about the same subject. I'm glad you took it to heart. I want to recognize that we have support in the back of the room from members of the Armenian community. The Armenian National Committee of America supports this measure. The Armenian Assembly of America is here and supports this measure. And I applaud you for passing this measure unanimously to send a message to CalPERS and other municipalities that, you know, they should not be investing in a international criminal government at this point in time, based on what has transpired. If you have any questions relating to the investment policy, I've studied it, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have on how it might affect the city's investment portfolio.
If I can ask a question?
Please.
Mr. Dadayan, so is your organization or the team that you're working with, this coalition, in conversations with individuals at CalPERS?
Yes, in fact, I've been involved in conversations with the CEO of CalPERS over the last year and a half on this subject.
And will the adoption of this resolution by this body help you in furthering the cause of ensuring that taxpayers in California are not investing taxpayer dollars in Azeri funds?
I think it will help. It'll help contribute to that. And I would also ask that as constituent members of CalPERS, that the city council and the treasurer take an active role in speaking out on this issue at CalPERS's regularly scheduled board meetings. I think there's one coming up in September to reiterate this, as well as, you know, we're speaking to others in the city of Los Angeles, city of San Francisco, and actually around the country. And I'm pleased to report that we've contacted several other public investment groups, and almost all of them have completely divested themselves from investments in Azerbaijan. It's very similar to what was going on in the 1980s when California led the way in divestment from South Africa and the apartheid regime there. It's similar to what's going on currently with divestment efforts in Sudan, in Iran. We divested ourselves of Russia. And interesting point on the issue of Russia, since the invasion of Ukraine and all of the sanctions that the United States and countries around the world have imposed, Azerbaijan is responsible for funneling Russian oil out through Baku for the last year. And it was reported by the Wall Street Journal in February of this year, in some investigative reporting, that $33 billion of Russian oil was sold through Azerbaijan last year. So it's important to, I mean, the fact that they conducted ethnic cleansing in 2020 and 2023, the fact that they starved out a community within their borders last year, the fact that they're holding political officials as hostages in Baku today, Armenian political officials as hostages, And now we see that they're evading worldwide sanctions and funneling $33 billion to Russia while the rest of the world is sanctioning them. It's time for us to stand up and stop investing in players like this, bad players like this. So
Thank you.
I thank you for your
Thank you.
efforts.
Mr. Dayan,
Yes.
happy to see you here. I know that, so as I was reading the resolution, is there a reason that we're leaving out Turkey? Because I do want to offer an amendment to add Turkey to this list. It'll be Turkey and Azerbaijan, but I also know that sometimes adding, maybe we do a separate one for Turkey, but.
Maybe you should do a separate one, because I think your report here doesn't give the whereases for Turkey. I mean, you could add it in.
Well, I was gonna add 2 amendments to the first whereas and the third, where it reads, on September 26, 2020, in violation of the international people on the non-use of force to resolve international disputes, the government of the Republic of Azerbaijan, and then add, with full support from its brother state Turkey, launched full-scale military aggression. It's the language of many resolutions I've written with the California Democratic Party, and that's kind of how we worded it, where it ties both of them together in the whereases. And then it's the same would go for the February 6, 2024, with the ethnic cleansing, tying both Turkey and Azerbaijan to it.
Right. We didn't, I mean, we'll support it if the whereases are there, but I would suggest you should just pass this as a standalone at this juncture.
In 2021, Senator Portantino, Madam Mayor, introduced SB 457, which was Turkish divestment options for employers, and it was specifically related to urging CalPERS and CalSTRS to divest from Turkey. That bill was not signed into law, but my understanding is that there were conversations and negotiations that happened, and I believe Senator Portantino would be better suited to comment on this. And the reason why this is here now is because at that time, Azerbaijan was omitted from it. So this is to make sure that the intent of what we're doing at the state level is whole by including Azerbaijan. I would urge that we don't commingle it at this point, and if we have to, we can come back and modify it, but versus injecting it at this point, after all this work has been done by individuals, could cause a number of issues moving forward.
Okay.
It's probably cleaner that way.
All right, so I'm happy to support it as is, but I would like for us to have a separate discussion on Turkey. And I do have one friendly amendment. In the first whereas, where it says Nagorno-Karabakh,
Artsakh?
in the parentheses, I would like for it to say also known as Artsakh. No, just the first, if we do it in the first one, then it just puts it in record. Don't want to complicate it further. Okay?
I would introduce, I would move the resolution with that amendment.
Councilmember Brahman, did you have additional comments?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Day.
No, no questions for me.
No.
Thank you.
And there are no other, you're finished with public comment?
We are right?
Madam Mayor, we have one more.
Oh, one more. Okay. Please. Oh, he's back.
Alan Dish, you have 3 minutes.
Welcome back, Mr. Dish.
Thank you very much.
Nice
Good
haircut.
evening. I appreciate it. Mr. Brotman, good evening, City Council, Madam Mayor. My name is Alan Dish. I would like to support this measure. I would like to address some of the cynics who may say, oh, but what can the city of Glendale do? Repeating basically Mr. Kasakian's point. My point is AAA, because words matter. And like my formula would be better hypocrisy than its opposite, which is brutal violence. And we should never forget that with all the criticism we hear of the West, like, oh, human rights is hypocritical, but my old line, it opened up the space for its own criticism. Like, first it meant only white land-owning men. Then women said, why not us also? Then blacks rebelled in Haiti, why not us also? So the ways we criticize the European legacy, the tools we use, are strictly part of Enlightenment tradition itself. And the tragedy is that today, those countries which are vehemently anti-Eurocentric, like Turkey, are taking the worst aspects of the European tradition, which is the nation state. So what to do then? We should beware of the decline of NATO and of the world order as we knew it. I don't think it's a good thing. Precisely, we should understand that war exploded in the Caucasus at the very moment when there was a breakdown in our world order. So this measure is also important because Armenians today, I think, feel alienated, defeated, alone. We should totally here support Armenian integration into EU and other pro-West bodies while, this is delicate, I know, not antagonizing as much as possible Russia. Like, Armenia is dependent economically on Russia. At the same time, Russia is also losing steam. Like a headline read recently, Russia throws Armenia under the bus. So we should use any tools we have at our disposal. If at least Glendale is with us, then we will be maybe on the right path. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
Just for the record, there is no financial impact to the city by passing this resolution. I just want to state that for the record.
And just want to say thank you for leading the effort many, many years ago and ensuring that our financial policies were also as such today. Thank you. With that, do we have a motion?
I second it. The motion was made.
We don't have-
No more callers, no more cards.
All right.
Can I make my comment now?
Oh, please, yes.
Yes. So I do support this change that's proposed, but in addition, we did talk about CalPERS, and I don't think we reached a conclusion. So I know because I've worked for many years with people trying to get CalPERS to divest from fossil fuels. It's very difficult. They're very stubborn. They guard their independence very, very carefully. However, I think we should make our voice heard. So I would support us preparing a letter. Maybe staff can do that, preparing a letter from the city council, or maybe we do it as a resolution if we wanted to have a little more effect. Then we would, I guess, have to come back with that. But do issue that, and also if Mr. Manoukian could kind of help us in developing a kind of an ongoing plan. I heard about showing up at board meetings. Maybe these are some of the things. I don't know if any of us do participate in governance at CalPERS, but if there's a strategy for us to get more involved in that, I think that would be healthy. So I would ask, and it may not be part of today's motion. I'll let the staff tell us whether that's appropriate, but that's something I would like to see us move forward with.
I think perhaps we can, I'm very interested in not just a letter, but for us to also have a strategy plan of how we're coordinating with other cities and even with our local unions that are part of this, for us to create a coalition. So if a resolution's the first starting point, I'm happy to support that. But I would also like to bring a separate item on the Republic of Turkey, as I mentioned, and I think those efforts need to be both for the Republic of Turkey and Azerbaijan together.
So would those be things we vote on today, or?
We can put them both on the new business agenda for next week.
You want to just combine it into one? Are you okay with that?
Sure.
Yeah, let's just do that so we're not. Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. Oh, Councilmember Najarian.
Yeah, just briefly. So I'd like to just state that after having a meeting with the Armenian Bar Association, I have had private discussions with a member of the CalPERS board about this issue, and we're hoping to open up a more direct line with that member through the Armenian Bar, and those that know perhaps are better advocates than I am And the last thing I'd like to say is, are we going to limit this to Turkey? Because there were a lot of other countries that were involved in the Armenian issues.
Well,
Just want to throw that out.
Azerbaijan, you meant? Or
Excuse me. Well, we're doing Azerbaijan now. There's a suggestion we bring Turkey back, but there are other countries as well. How far are we going to cast that net? We need to think about that.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Councilmember Brotman?
Yes.
With the amendment, the adding Artsakh, right? That
Was part
included,
of the
okay.
motion, yes.
All right.
Councilmember Garpetian?
Yes.
Sakian?
Yes.
Najarian?
Yes.
Mayor Asadrian?
Yes. Thank you. And thank you all for coming. What's next?
Item 8B, Management Services regarding consideration of the removal and replacement of Burbank, Glendale, Pasadena Airport Authority Commissioner Frank Quintero. One motion removing Frank Quintero from the Burbank, Glendale, Pasadena Airport Authority Commission. Two motion appointing an individual to replace Frank Quintero on the Burbank, Glendale, Pasadena Airport Authority. Three, motion to note and file. Four, motion to direct staff.
All right, do we have a report?
Yes, Mayor Asatrian, member City Council. The Hollywood Burbank Airport is managed by the Burbank Glendale Pasadena Airport Authority, governed by 9 commissioners, 3 from each cities of Burbank, Glendale, and Pasadena. On May 7th of this year, council appointed Mayor Asatrian to replace former council member Paula Devine on the commission. And at the same meeting, Councilmember Garpetian requested consideration or removal and replacement of the commissioner seat currently held by Frank Quintero.
All right.
My apologies, there are 4 separate motions for your consideration, depending on your direction.
Thank you. Councilmember Garpetian, since you're the one
Yes.
that requested this item?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I requested this item because I'm interested in serving on the Burbank, Glendale, Pasadena Airport Authority. I was a member in 2018-19, and I attended every meeting. I went to every sessions they had, extra sessions, and I met with all the directors, and whenever they needed, I think I'm a good fit to represent the city in this position. I understand Mr. Quintero had an interest and he was appointed at that time, but I think there should be someone who's elected from the city and as well as having a little bit more experience in that position, which I do. With that, I just want to ask for, I don't know how the process is. Is it has to be a nomination done, or how does that process work?
Councilmember Garpetian, so the report is presented with different motions. One would, obviously, the council would first have to agree to remove former Councilmember Quintero, and then make nominations to appoint. Nominations don't need a second, so it could be multiple nominations. And also it could be done in one motion or separate. I know there was a desire to have sort of the discussion and the action taken separately, so that's why they're presented as options. But the motion, whatever it is, there doesn't need to be a motion to remove Mr. Quintero, if that's, that's what the council desires.
Okay. Councilmember Brotman?
Yes. I know Mr. Quintero would like to continue to serve. I think he has done a very good job representing the city of Glendale on the airport authority. His term ends next May, is it?
May 31st.
Next May. So my preference would be to leave him in place and to address all 3 seats in May, because all 3 seats will be up in May. And we can discuss at that time who are the most appropriate people for that. If this council chooses to remove Mr. Quintero, I would seek that airport authority seat myself. It's something that I've expressed interest in. At the time we appointed Mr. Quintero, I said I was interested as well. I just happened to think at that time that he had more to offer the authority than I did at that time. So I supported him. Nonetheless, it's something that I did express interest in, and I have subsequently. So, you know, I would bring different things. I would bring the perspective of somebody with a finance and economics background, and I would certainly be looking at sustainability as a major theme. So I'll put that out there. But again, I just want to be clear that my first choice would be to just hold the way we are and reconsider this in May for all 3 seats.
Thank you. Councilmember Najarian.
This is a very difficult decision to make. It's difficult because I know both Mr. Quintero and Mr. Garpetian, and I've worked with Mr. Quintero for a few years. In fact, I think I was a strong advocate to place him on the airport board when that came up. I think that was 2022.
2021. 2021.
2021.
22.
And he's done a very good job. And I know Mr. Garpetian, with his experience, will also do a very good job. Earlier in another meeting, I had made some comments about why don't we just wait until May for that term to end. And I understand now that Mr. Garpetian would much rather have that sooner, to be placed on there sooner rather than later. It's my general belief that a council member should be given a priority, if you will, over a non-council member in seeking a position on any of these boards. And however, I think I want to be ceremonious about this. I don't want to just say, see you, Quintero, here's your little plaque for your service. I would like to propose a compromise in that we appoint Garpetian, but we make that appointment effective January 1st, continue through the end of this year. Where are we now? We're knocking on August's door, so August, September, so we're about 120 days away. So I would like to see if there's any support in confirming Mr. Garpetian now for a January 1st start date. That way, Mr. Quintero can begin his phase out on the commission in a dignified manner. I don't know if there's any support for that, but I just like to put that out there.
Not from me.
Councilmember Kasakian.
Well, if we were to appoint one more council member, be it Councilmember Brotman or Garpetian, to the Airport Commission, of the 3 cities, Glendale, Burbank, and Pasadena, we would be the only city to have 3 sitting council members on 3 seats on that board. Neither Pasadena nor Burbank, and I think Burbank is not allowed to have it for specific reasons because of the fact that the airport may be located in their city, but this discussion has happened here before, I believe, or there's been a determination or a comment made that it would not be a violation of the Brown Act as our city attorney sees it, but I have to disagree and say that even if it doesn't pass, even if it may pass that legal Brown Act test, which I can't see how it would, it certainly doesn't pass that smell test, especially when there's a town hall in the city, or any of us are, and anytime 3 of us, more than 3 of us, or more than 2 of us are in any place, we're even afraid to look at each other lest we violate the Brown Act. So I think that it's appropriate, and I said this before, to be consistent with my statements and positions on this appointment previously. It's best that we reserve 1 seat for someone who is not a council member. Now, that does not mean that Councilmember Garpetian may not get to serve on this position, or Councilmember Brotman, but I don't believe that that third seat should be given to a council person. I feel strongly about that, and that's where I stand.
Right. I'm not open to the suggestion of starting in January. I have made this comment before. I am in support of supporting my colleagues. And so I don't know where that leaves us.
Madam Mayor, I do have a caller on the line
You
for
do?
this item.
All right.
Fernando Roldan, you have 3 minutes, Fernando. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The subject about taking Mr. Quintero, to me, is out of the question. First of all, why is he not there? I mean, he should be there to at least speak for himself, number one. Number two, I mean, I know Mr. Quintero for a lot of years, and as a fellow Glendalian, I mean, I do disagree of removing him from the airport authority because he's one of the best. He's one of the best we've had here in Glendale, and to remove him really is. I can't see that. I'm asking the mayor and the members of the council not to remove Frank Quintero from this. I mean, that's my 2 cents on that. Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, that is the only caller.
Councilmember Garabedian.
Yes, I think the word removing is a little bit harsh. I think it's just maybe replacing or thanking him for his service. And what I say today is what I said in 2015 when Mr. Quintero applied to be appointed to the council when there was a vacancy by Zara Sinanian. And I said, Mr. Quintero, has been there and done that. Why is it that there's this urge to have these seats that's appointed and mostly transportation seats? And I said the same thing when in 2022, the council didn't vote for Councilmember Asatrian, and I was here and speaking on the same subject and voted Mr. Quintero in. That, again, he's been there, done that. According to him, most of his time is, he's spending his time with his grandchild outside the city. He represented the city in the past. I think it's time for someone else to do the job. And I said the same thing again in 2019, when there was an appointment position open. And I said, look, I know Mr. Quintero was a council member in the past, but I supported the idea of Councilmember Kasakian, who was a city clerk at that time. I said, Councilmember Kasakian would do a good job as well, so maybe we should appoint him. But I was outvoted by 4-1. But again, this transportation appointed position is what Mr. Quintero is interested in, and I don't want to, he was a member of Eco Rapid Transit as an alternate for a long time. So I think it's just time for someone else to do the job. And as far as being 3 council members, there is no Brown Act violation in that position. That was done, that's been done. That was the norm for many, many years, including the year that Mr. Quintero was a council member and served on the Airport Commission at that time with other 2 council members on that board. So again, I believe that, I've been there. I'm very interested in to be appointed. Also, attending these meetings are very important. I attended every meeting that we had, and they count on that.
Mr. Garpetian, how would you feel about a January 1st start?
I think it's just dancing around the issue. that's another 6 months taken out of my, it's not 4 months, we are in the, anyways. I think it's not removing, when you say removing someone, it's not removing, it's just replacing someone on the board, and that's not a problem. I don't think Mr. Quintero will be very upset, to be honest with you. And he was there, we appointed him twice to council when there was an opening, one for Mr. Manikian, when he ran as a treasurer and got elected. He retired in 2013, and right after that applied to become a council member via appointment. And he got appointed in 2013 when Mr. Manoukian ran for city treasurer and won. And then...
It was Friedman.
No, it was Mr. Manoukian. But then in place of Zara Sinanian, then he was appointed to the... When I got elected the first time, it's like deja vu all over again. In 2015, when I got elected, Mr. Quintero was appointed a few months before that to Airport Commission, and I waited at that time for another year or so. So I don't think it's fair, and it's not, again, it's not anything against Mr. Quintero, but I think it's time for a new face on that commission.
Look, I've made my comments even dating back to 2022 on this issue. I want to be supportive of my colleagues. I'd like to see all three members, and this has nothing to do with former mayor and former council member Frank Quintero. It's just a policy standing, and so, but I'm not, I don't want to bring this back up in January. I think that's, we either move forward with replacement or we don't. I don't understand the wait for it. Councilmember Kasakian.
So I know that everyone keeps saying this isn't about council member or former mayor Frank Quintero. It's not anything personal, yet here we are discussing whether, or my colleagues are discussing whether to strip him prematurely of when his term is up of a seat that we asked him to fill, which he has done. He's served, he's attended meetings. And I'm confused about the part where we say it's not about him and it's not personal, yet we're willing to not wait until the gentleman has completed his term before everyone starts circling and chomping at the bits to get at the seat. Also, you have one other colleague that has just publicly expressed an interest. Two individuals on this dais have both expressed an interest on serving on that body. Again, I will say personally, I was supportive of former council members serving in this seat, as Pasadena has had, as Burbank has, and actually both of them currently have former council members. I think is more than appropriate to follow that pattern and to show that we have capable individuals who are still involved in the city that still may want to serve in some capacity, who want to do so. And in the absence of that, back when this discussion was happening initially, I was also supportive of someone like former Police Chief Carl Povolitis serving, who had actually served when he was, I believe, a lieutenant on the Airport Commission. So it's not out of the norm or the realm of normality of the city's operations to have a non-council member in that on one of 3 seats. It brings a diversity of perspectives, and it's not an entitlement for a council member to necessarily have one of these seats. It's not an entitlement. Just because the public elected us to serve on this body doesn't mean then we get to serve on every single seat that there is. We need to bring in different voices, allow opportunities for people to serve in different positions, and broaden our network of knowledge.
Councilmember.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Mr. Kazakian. I think it's not a matter of entitlement, it's a matter of will and passion for a position. I do not have any other position outside this council. If Mr. Quintero is really interested in serving on any capacity to help the city and serve the city, we have all the commission positions available. All 5 of us can appoint him in different commissions, transportation and public parking commission. We can do that. I think the the point is that times has changed, mindset has changed, and my interest has always been from the beginning that I got elected. I expressed my interest in this position. It's not that I feel entitled, but I feel that a council member should represent the city on that board, especially when nowadays there are so many issues coming up that you have to be really you dive deep in those issues. As far as the flight patterns trying to be changed, that they're trying to force it to go over Glendale. We need to have someone that is there day in, day out. And again, it's not against Mr. Quintero. It's just my desire to serve on that board. And as I mentioned, even Mr. Quintero mentioned to me that most of his time is outside Glendale, spending time with his family, and rightfully so, with his grandchild and his family. And maybe we need someone that is here every day, knows the issues more, and can serve the city better. That's all I have to say right now.
All right. I'm just gonna, having heard everybody, Councilmember Najarian, and it says this is the two-part process. One is agreeing to do it, and then discussing the replacement itself. Councilmember Najarian, are you willing to, support in replacing Mr. Quintero now?
I think we'd be deadlocked if I didn't. So I would be, for the sake of progress on this issue, I would support item 8B1.
8B1. A second.
Where is it?
8B1 is a motion to remove Mr. Quintero.
Okay. All right, so
But
then,
don't put me on the motion.
Can I-
But if someone were to make it,
Right.
I would.
well, so you're in favor of that? I'm trying to figure out where we're moving. If we're closing this item now, or you're supporting?
But don't put me down as making the motion.
I make that motion.
Well, okay. Did you have a comment?
Yes,
No,
I
that's
had
fine.
I had a comment, because I didn't understand the deadlock thing. We can move to note and file and just hold this over till next May.
Or bring it back in January, or whatever you guys want, so.
So it's not about deadlock. I think it's about being the tiebreaker.
Is it, Mr. City Attorney, is it possible to make this decision and have it effective January 1st?
Yes.
Without a rehearing, just have it a fait accompli?
So council could, for example, do one motion to remove Mr. Quintero, replace him with whoever the council wants as part of the motion, but have it effective January 1st.
That would be my motion.
Is that a substitute motion?
I don't think any motion was made yet. Oh, well,
Councilmember
sorry, there
Garpetian.
wasn't.
Councilmember
It would be a
Garpetian.
substitute motion, yeah. Any seconds? Dies, I guess.
That's for like a second.
Okay.
So Mr. Carpetian's motion's on the
The
floor.
main motion is on the floor. So you need a second for that. And the mayor is typically not the seconder, so I would
Unless they
second.
pass the gavel.
Yeah, council.
Well,
And this is just B1.
This is B1 to remove Mr. Quintero. So somebody can second, or Mayor Satrin, you can pass the gavel.
I'll second. I'm not just waving to you.
All right. Okay, so now second part of the motion, we have,
Well, let's,
Roll call.
That's one motion.
well, wait. Do we have to, can we have the conversation? What if we end up making this motion, and then we end up in a deadlock for the other?
Certainly. I mean, that would happen. I
And
mean,
then-
Yeah, that's a
you'd have to make a
possibility.
decision on who to replace him with, or you'd have a vacancy until you came to that decision.
Okay. Listen, I'm not gonna die on this hill. If your motion is, it depends, if your motion is for January to do what?
You take office January 1st
That would be
without
your
further action of this council.
Is that possible to do?
Yeah, absolutely. That was his motion.
Okay, I'll second that.
I'm not supporting that.
You're not supporting that?
No.
So it will be a deadlock. Okay. Then we'll go back to my motion, that's second.
Well, there's a motion, a second. Do we need to vote?
Unless somebody makes a substitute motion.
Okay.
Somebody could make a substitute motion to remove.
I'll make a substitute motion. My motion will be to note and file.
Right.
I'll second.
But Madam Mayor, seeing as though the party in interest may be willing to accept that, wouldn't you go along with that rather than, you'd like him to take office immediately, I presume, is that?
Whoever it is. We can have that discussion after this.
Oh,
but-
whoever.
So it's a note and file?
That's the motion on the floor, so you'll have to.
So there's a motion and a second, so
Is there a second?
there was a second, yes.
You seconded?
I did.
Okay, well, you want to take a roll call, or you want to?
There's two more.
That motion, just a motion, no files to do nothing. So if you pass it, the item's over unless you reconsider, or you can vote it down and then you take another action.
So what's on the floor now? Which,
The motion to no file has precedence.
I'm not going to vote for that, that's for sure.
well, we have to take roll call.
Yeah.
Take a roll call. Note and file, or the January 1st. one or the other. But note and file, let's go. Let's take a, because we don't want a note and file. I don't want a note and file. I want to make a decision today. Either he is removed and someone else is appointed, or he's removed and January 1st, someone else is appointed.
I'm not comfortable with that.
With what?
Well,
not
I think we have to vote. We have to vote.
We have to go through the roll.
Councilmember Brotman,
Yes.
Garpetian,
No.
Kasakian,
Yes.
Najarian,
No.
Mayor Asadrian.
Yes. All right. Next item.
Next item would be management services regarding external boards and commissions and nominations to Hollywood Burbank Airport Citizens Advisory Committee. One motion appointing an individual to replace R. Najarian on San Fernando Valley Council of Governments. Two, motion directing staff on the nomination process to be utilized to select 3 individuals to serve on Hollywood Burbank Airport Citizen Advisory Committee.
Madam Mayor, members of City Council, the City of Glendale participates in several public agencies, boards, and committees requiring City Council, staff, or community members to serve on these entities. This report covers one appointment and a nomination process. Essentially, we have 2 motions, starting with Councilmember Najarian, who's expressed interest in stepping down from the San Fernando Valley Council of Governments due to scheduling conflicts, hence the need for a new appointment, as well as a new Hollywood Burbank Airport Citizens Advisory Committee, which is in the process of being formed. And the City Council will have to decide on the method of the selection of Glendale's 3 representatives. We have offered 3 options. One being the open application process, similar to what City of Burbank has done, where we can announce an open call for applications and allowing any interested and qualified individuals to apply, or nominations by council members, where each of you can nominate a candidate from the community at large, and this would create a list of 5 applicants, then council can reduce that list of 5 to 3. Or lastly, city manager's appointment, which will allow the city manager to appoint members directly, either based on discretion or if you provide direction and recommendation for this selection. And we have also provided a list of all the boards and outside agency boards and committees for your reference. If you like to discuss those, or we can have a separate conversation in the future related to the vacant positions or those that are coming up as being terminated.
Great. You have a comment?
Yes. So I'd just like to actually briefly address both of these. So the first one is appointing an individual to replace me. I have expressed an interest to move on from this. However, if you feel that you want to make the motion to replace me and feel as though you're getting rid of me, I have no problem with that. The Council of Governments started in 2010, and it is composed of 2 supervisors, I think 5 or 6 LA City Council members, as well as the cities of Burbank, San Fernando, Santa Clarita, and Glendale. And they meet quarterly. They discuss issues, a lot of transportation-related issues, some homelessness issues, and other business and economic development issues. It's a nice board to be on, and it's very well run, and they do make accommodations for those who can't go in person to appear by Zoom. And I would recommend anyone who's interested in this to take that. I think we're also looking for an alternate for that seat also, an alternate and a principal to that Council of Governments. The second item with regard to the Citizens Advisory Committee, just a little background, it's consisting of 3 community members from each city. The main focus is regarding noise impacts as a result of the FAA's new departure vectors from the airport. Many residents in the foothills of Studio City, Sherman Oaks, in fact, all the way over the hill to Bel Air, have been affected by these noise issues. Their job of this advisory committee is to hold open meetings, hear from members of the public, and make recommendations to the airport authority. And so I think we need, in that regard, I think we should cast a wide net, get applicants from residents who are, they don't have to be airport or aviation experts, but folks aware of quality of life, but also the relationship between what the airport can do and what it can't do when hearing complaints of noise. Thank you.
As part of this, I had requested that staff bring all of the different external bodies, so we can just have a discussion on who wants what appointment and kind of go through that. So, Councilmember Carpetian, did you mark to speak on this? Yeah. Okay. Please go ahead.
Yeah, for 8E1, I nominate Frank Quintero for that seat. I think he will be a good fit
Which one?
for San Fernando Valley Council of Governments.
He can be an alternate. I don't think he can be a principal. But if the principal doesn't show up, the alternate's there at the table.
And
What?
yeah, I'm nominating Frank Quintero for that seat. For the
Okay,
second motion,
Councilmember Carpetian, are there positions that you'd like? I'd like to see the ones that are either vacant or things that you're seeing on here.
are we talking about 8A1?
Principal.
Yes, there are, Mayor
there
Asarfi and Members of City
right.
Council, there are 2 motions
Right.
that we need direction on. And then the attached list is for review, whether you want to discuss it tonight or take a look at it in more detail and bring it back at another time
That's
for
separate
nomination
item.
to,
That's separate item.
right, to
It's
vacant
not-
positions.
It's not 8A1 or 2. These are two different items that's on the agenda. This is separate for us to take a look and see if you're interested. We can mention it today. If not, we can bring it back for the following week. But
Okay, well, I was under the impression when I asked for this list to come, was for us to just decide today on,
And you can.
okay?
That's one option, but we also have two motions that we need direction on tonight.
Okay, well, is it possible for us to just do it together?
Madam Mayor, sorry, the only items on the agenda that you can take action on are the two that are listed for the COG and the membership of the advisory committee. So the others will have to, you can provide some input, but those will have to come back for future action.
Are any of my colleagues interested in serving on that?
not me.
No? On the San Fernando Valley COG, no one wants to serve?
I'm actually interested in it, but I was waiting for my colleagues to
Go
say
ahead.
something. Okay. I mean, I'm
'Cause what else?
interested in the economic development part of it, and I think there's actually a lot that we can be doing between our economic development department and the valleys. I know that for the Small Business Summit, we ended up teaming up together, but I think there's a lot of opportunities there because they're stronger.
Okay, so I'll nominate Mayor Satrian for the San Fernando Valley COG position, the principal position.
Second.
Is there an alternate?
No one else wants to do it. I'd be happy to do it, but I think it's appropriate for you to take the lead on this, and if need be, I'd pinch hit, or anyone else can. I'm looking at the membership right now. I think it's appropriate for you as mayor to be on there, but would it be appropriate for that alternate to switch with whoever is mayor pro tem? Or does it have to be a council member that's designated?
I think they need one alternate name.
Well,
Correct.
what about,
I might be
could
wrong.
the alternate be the city manager?
Yes.
Yes.
If I can maybe just shed some light on this, the one challenge with having a different alternate for every meeting is you're going to have to submit a Form
yeah.
700 each time you
So-
take office and
okay.
leave
So
office.
how about we make it the city manager as the alternate? If it's allowable, because I'm looking at the membership and everyone is an active current elected official.
Right.
However, in reality, as far as the supervisors go, it's often attended by their chief of staff or economic development
Perfect.
policy advisor.
There you go.
just
I was
so you know.
I was gonna say either our city manager, or if the city manager's not interested in it, or maybe our economic development.
Or our assistant
Team,
city
I-
manager.
I withdraw my interest in deference to our city manager being the alternate.
I'd be happy to do
Okay.
it, if that's council's direction, and if I'm not able to attend the meeting, then the assistant city manager perhaps can replace me.
Can we do that?
You're the alternate. Chances are you're
Oh.
not gonna.
It's at council's direction.
And yes, I'd be happy with city manager as well.
You have enough time?
Yeah,
No.
we're. Well,
Do you?
may I? Yeah, perhaps we could either appoint the assistant city manager or Mr. Calvert, head of community development, might be an appropriate alternate.
Madam Mayor,
In fact, I think he'd be an excellent
I think
alternate.
Mr. Taktalian is okay with that, in which case I would say, I make the motion to appoint Assistant City Manager John Taktalian as the alternate to Mayor Asatryan.
Second.
Madam Mayor, before you vote, I do have a caller on this item. He just called in.
All right, go ahead.
Fernando Roldan, you have 3 minutes. Fernando, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. I wouldn't mind volunteering if it's possible. I mean, I've lived in Glendale long enough to understand the city, the sections, understand the airport, how it is, and I've worked and lived in this community for many, many years. I know Burbank like the back of my head. I know the Valley, and as a person with a disability, it would be an honor if I could volunteer to work with you guys on this, or at least be on that commission. But it's up to you folks. I'm just giving my services out to you folks. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to see if is the city manager declining?
Yes, we referred it to Assistant City Manager.
So should I amend my motion? I had a motion, my motion was seconded, and that was to nominate Mayor Satrian to be the principal. Maybe we should vote on that first? Or
All right, let's
should we
just do
do a
that.
package, or?
You could
You can
do
do
either.
Okay, well, let's do the first one, if that's okay with the mayor.
Sure. All right, let's have a roll call, please.
Councilmember Brotman,
Yes.
Garpetian,
Yes.
Kasakian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Mayor Asadrian.
Yes. All right.
And then I think Councilmember Kasakian made a motion.
Yeah, I made a motion to make Assistant City Manager John Takhtalian the alternate to the San Fernando Valley COG.
Yeah, I second it.
Roll call.
Councilmember Brotman,
Yes.
Garpetian,
Yes.
Wait, before you finish this, the minute they vote, we can't go through the rest of it?
No, you can
has
continue
nothing
to have
to
a
do.
Okay, I just
discussion.
want to make sure, okay, all right.
Kasakian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Mayor Asadrian.
Yes. All right,
And may I speak on?
yes, please.
Okay, just like to speak on 8C2. And just to say that I agree that we should have, I think this is what Councilmember Najarian said, have an open application process and see who's interested. So my vote would be to go that direction.
I would like to request that part of that announcement that goes out also mentions, or we think through what ties to communities this individual has. I know that there's going to be a big community outreach push, and I want to make sure that we're also appointing people that know how to look at that and help also advise the authority on outreach to the diverse communities. So, right.
Should I make a motion, or is?
Yes, we need a motion.
Yeah, we need a motion.
Okay, I didn't know if anybody else had comments, but I'll make a motion to direct staff to initiate an open application process for the Citizens Advisory Committee, and on, I guess, collecting the interested party names and information, bring that back to council for, with a recommendation perhaps, a recommendation of 3 people for us to then vote on.
Second.
Is there a deadline that we're placing on this? I know that at least Burbank has appointed, so I don't want this to become a prolonged process and.
Possible.
We can issue the open letter inviting applications tomorrow, and we'll find out if there's a deadline.
Okay, so that's my motion, and
Second.
it was seconded.
All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Brotman,
Yes.
Garpetian,
Yes.
Kasakian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Mayor Asadrian.
Yes. Do you want to go through this list, and are there positions that any of my colleagues are interested in? Or do you want to hold this to another date?
I would rather hold it.
Yeah, I would say hold.
Question about it. I have a question.
We do have some vacancies that I would like filled, so.
So if I may make a suggestion, Mayor,
I-
allow us to bring a report with all the vacancies itemized. By then, you will have had a chance to look at the list and determine whether you're interested in any of these positions, and then you can take a vote subsequently.
Okay, so, but can we actually schedule this for the next meeting that we have? I don't want to, we have some big vacancies on here, and it's been there for a long time.
Right.
And so I just want to make sure that we have representation on these bodies, so.
We'll schedule it for July 30th, that's our next meeting, and July 30th is quite busy.
Can we
So
do an
it's up-
afternoon
We
session?
can do it in the afternoon session. We have 2 items for the afternoon session.
Okay.
I am not here July 30th.
Are you here time after? All right.
What's that?
The one, when we have a next full council. Like,
It'll be August 17th.
August 13th.
August 13th?
Yeah.
13th.
okay, August 13th. Thank you.
One comment.
Yes.
Along with the report that you bring, I'd like to get a list of all the external commissions that we have today and the list of the report on the attendance of the council members who hold these positions, their attendance record. I mean, we can request that from any boards and commissions, outside boards and commissions. Because we had in the past issues with council members taking so many different positions and not attending these meetings. And it made the city look really bad. We had one case that MWD, it was a disaster. So, and we received a letter from MWD that do you even want this position or not? So I like to have, along with that report, a record of the attendance on every boards and commissions that we have. All of them.
All right. Next item.
Next item is hearings, community development regarding extension of interim urgency ordinance number 6011 prohibiting issuance of entitlements and/or permits for establishment of new or replacement retail uses selling firearms or ammunition. One, ordinance for introduction extending by an additional 1 year interim urgency ordinance number 6011 prohibiting issuance of entitlements and/or permits for establishments or new or replacement retail uses selling firearms or ammunition.
All right, I'll open the hearing. Mr. Calvert.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. We are seeking to extend the moratorium by 1 year. There's a couple factors in play here. One, we are working on another moratorium that's expiring. During that period of time, we had also eliminated another one. We also believe that given the sensitivity of this topic, the nature of this topic, that we very well may need to seek some outside consultation to advise on what those alternatives may be that we bring back to council. We have not had the opportunity to do that yet. We believe that we can get that done within this 1 year period, if not less. I believe we had spoken before in some of the briefings. Our plan would be to bring back some of the alternatives by the end of this year, beginning of next year. But we are asking to extend this by 1 year so that we can take that time to make sure that whatever alternatives we bring forward are essentially soundproof legally.
All right. Councilman Garpetian.
So the alternatives of you want to bring back, what are those what are you looking for into these alternatives? Is it the zoning, which zoning allows it, and limit to, if it's in commercial zoning, are you going to limit it? The alternative that you're studying is to limit it to one zoning? Is it an alternative that includes to be certain distance away from residential neighborhoods, schools, or churches? What are these alternatives that we don't have in our code today?
Councilmember Garpetian, I believe it would include a number of those you had mentioned. It could include a limited number. We could have a certain cap. We could limit it to certain zones. We could restrict that further. We could put in buffers that they cannot be within 100 feet, 500 feet of certain uses, sensitive uses. I think all of those are at play. We've talked about conditional use permits, things of that nature. So I think you're going to see a suite of different options that we would like to bring forward. And I think all of them come with a particular sensitivity that we want to make sure that we evaluate fairly and fully.
And do we have in our code or zoning code, do we have a code that allows shooting ranges, indoor shooting range?
I would need to go back and look at our code. I know that the ammunition and firearms retailers, they fall under the classification of retail. I would need to go look back and look specifically at the firing ranges themselves.
The firing range. Okay, that was my question, because in general, I'm not a big fan of moratoriums, because every time you put a moratorium in, regardless of what business or development it is, you give leverage to the others that they have that use already. So I'm not a big fan of moratoriums because I don't want it close to schools, I don't want it close to churches, I don't want it close to residential neighborhoods. I'm okay with it, but in general, I think we have to be very careful. And every moratorium, there has to be a reason for it. And I asked if we had any applications prior to imposing this moratorium. We didn't have any applications for new firearm locations or retail locations. So the moratorium has to have a reason, and it just cannot be, we just want to have it. But I understand if we want to make sure that they're away from these users or churches or schools or residential neighborhoods, I'm okay with that. Thank you.
Great. Do we have, Councilmember Kasakian?
So at the time, we did not have any new applications when we brought this moratorium suggestion forward, or actually a study of limiting the number of firearm retailers. But prior to that, we did, right? We have increased in the number of establishments that we have in the city that sell firearms.
The overall number has increased. I believe we're currently at 10 that are licensed to do that. Out of the 4 cities that we evaluated, the Tri-Cities plus Los Angeles, we had the second highest per capita. You are correct, though. We did not have any applications at the time of the moratorium, though there was nothing in the pipeline. We didn't have any pre-applications or anything of that nature.
So I would support this because as someone who would like to limit the number of establishments we have, and we can limit a number of things in the city. We have the authority to do that. This in no way will limit individuals' rights to purchase firearms or own firearms in the city of Glendale. But I do think that we should monitor, the number of permits issued or licenses issued for firearm retailers. And so I think that warrants a discussion, the type of establishments, et cetera. So I would suggest and encourage support for this until such time as you bring back the recommendations for us to consider.
Seeing no other comments, do I have a motion?
I'll move the item.
I'll second it.
All right.
I'll
wait to
I'll
close
introduce
the
it.
Yeah, close the public
I'll
hearing,
close
and
the
then
hearing.
it's an ordinance for introduction only.
All right.
Oh,
Who wants to introduce?
I'll introduce it.
okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next item?
Mayor, next item is number 12, discussion of council member future agenda request. 12A, Councilmember Najarian's request to review and discuss programs or partnerships to address health and social challenges affecting men.
Councilmember Najarian?
Well, when I raised this, I talked about some of the areas where men are facing some significant problems, both socially, in the field of education, in the field of health, mental health, and physical health. So I think it'd be good to get a report and see what can be done. I'm not necessarily calling for a quote-unquote men's commission, but some report to see what can be done, see what other cities are doing, and hopefully make the quality of life better for the men and boys and men in this city.
Right?
May I make a comment?
Councilmember Brotman?
Yeah, I'll have to say, when I first heard Councilmember Najarian bring this up, I was a little skeptical, thinking, what do we need a special focused on men and boys about? But as I thought about it, and actually I did a little Googling, a little bit of research, I read some interesting things. For instance, the Washington State Legislature, and I know you're saying you're not necessarily looking for a commission, but the Washington State Legislature actually is working on creating a commission on boys and men. And interestingly, most of the sponsors are women. And there's also an interesting book, which I didn't read the book, but I read a synopsis of the book by Richard Reeve. And I think we should, if staff brings something back, it would be good to incorporate some of this stuff. The book is called Of Boys and Men, Why the Modern Male is Struggling and What to Do About It, by Richard Reeve. Sounds very interesting. He's a fellow at the Brookings Institution, and he's been looking at this issue, I think, for much of his career. But I thought there was a lot of very insightful comment, both from him and from this work that the Washington legislature is doing. And I think it's fair to say men as a whole are privileged, and women as a whole are still subject to discrimination. And so it doesn't take away from what we're doing with women and girls, but there is a broad swath of men and boys as you go down the economic ladder, especially, who are feeling alienated. They're falling behind women in terms of education. Their earnings are not increasing the way they have been for women, dropping out of the workforce at rates exceeding women. They represent the lion's share of deaths of despair, what we call deaths of despair, suicide, and opioids, and many other health issues which Councilmember Najarian also raised. So there are real issues, and this is a problem not just for the men, but it's a problem for everybody. It's a women's problem too, and I guess that's why in Washington we're seeing kind of women lead the charge on this, because alienated young men with grievances are dangerous. They feel extremism, and they're prone to perpetrating domestic violence and other violent acts. We know 98% of mass shootings are by men. So I do think it's worth looking into this, and I actually got excited as I was reading about this with the possibilities. And there were some very good suggestions, I thought, in some of the work in Washington. So I look forward to, I do support this, and I look forward to seeing what we can learn and what we can do at the local level.
I mean, I noted that I support this item when Councilmember Najarian first brought up the concept during our budget sessions when I was bringing up funding for the Women's Commission. We've talked about this time and again that any issue that impacts any of the genders impacts the other, impacts our society and our families. And I think a lot of it, I think there's two separate issues here. One is data definitely shows that men suffer from a lot of health issues that are very specific to them that I would love to see a report on or some sort of data for our community and what we're really doing in that space and how we can possibly partner. But also when we're looking at programming and services, when it comes to substance abuse, when we're talking about education, and even just concepts for like, fatherhood and anything that helps the society as a whole. And so I would wholeheartedly support this. I do want to mention we're looking at initially getting a report, Councilman Najarian, is that?
Report, and then we decide where we go.
Okay. All right.
I have
Oh, Councilmember Garbachian.
Yeah, I support this idea as well. I support it from the beginning, and I think that it has to be kind of focused on Glendale. We don't want to go nationwide, statewide, nationwide. It has to be focused on Glendale, like the reports that we conduct for women in Glendale, that the Commission on Status of Women does. And there's this misconception out there that men are privileged. Men are not privileged. They just take a very small portion of very successful corporate men and they apply that to everyone across the board. Men oftentimes they have harder life, they work outside, they do more difficult jobs, they have more responsibilities, they die a lot, in a younger age. It's a difficult life for men in general, but you need to consider all of these issues that it's never been talked about. They have to build and maintain everything, all the difficult things that we have, all the infrastructure, everything. So it has to be Glendale focused, so we don't get really distracted by everything else that goes on in our country. So it would be meaningful, and I'm in full support of it as well.
Well, I would say that I highly disagree with you about the privileged part, or the lack thereof, but I do think that there is something to be learned from looking at other models, but and looking at where and which cities are excelling in these spaces, but preparing and coming out with programming and policies that are very local. Just very similar to how I had noted for the Women's Commission. I don't want to just see what other cities are doing. I want to be a model in these spaces for our residents and for those that visit. And my hope would be that other cities could look to Glendale and say, look what Glendale's doing, and take our own.
Yeah, and I respectfully disagree with your disagreement because
you made a statement. I said I disagree. If you want to do this back and forth, we can. Okay. All right.
Madam Mayor, I do have a caller and a card.
Great. We'll take the card first.
Alan Dish, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll try to condense it. Good evening, City Council. No. I want to read some philosophy. It's a prepared statement. It's from Alain Badiou's book, The True Life. It's about this situation, precisely men's issues. Today, he says, the task of the philosopher is no longer to undermine the hegemonic, hierarchical, symbolic edifice that grounds social stability, but to make the young and people in general perceive the dangers of the growing post-patriarchal nihilist order, which presents itself as the domain of new freedoms. We live in an extraordinary era where there is no tradition on which we can base our identity, no frame of meaningful universe, which might enable us to live beyond hedonist reproduction. This new world disorder, this gradually emerging worldless, Weltlos civilization, exemplarily affects the young who oscillate between the intensity of fully burning out, sexual enjoyment, drugs, alcohol, even violence, and the endeavor to succeed, study, make a career, earn money, the only radical alternative being a violent retreat into some artificially resuscitated tradition. Badiou perspicuously noted that we are getting today a kind of decadent reactionary version of the withering away, the disintegration of the state. Today's state is more and more an administrative regulator of market egotism with no symbolic authority, lacking what Hegel perceived as the essence of state, the all-encompassing community for which we are ready to sacrifice ourselves. This disintegration of the shared ethical substance of our lives is clearly signaled by the abolishment of universal military conscription in many developed countries. The very notion of being ready to risk one's life for a common cause appears increasingly pointless, if not directly ridiculous to most of us, so that armed forces, as the body in which all citizens equally participate, is gradually turning into a mercenary force. Now, this disintegration of a shared ethical substance affects the two sexes differently. Men are gradually turning into perpetual adolescents with no clear passage of initiation that would enact their entry into maturity. You know, in more traditional societies, till like half a century ago, there were many initiatic points in the life of a young man. In some countries, you become a man after military service. Then it was acquiring a profession, then finishing your education. This no longer works. No wonder then that in order to supplant this lack, post-paternal youth gangs proliferate.
Alan, thank you. 3 minutes is up. Alan Shalacy. Alan, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I have a quick question. I know we have a women's commission. Is there any reason why we don't have a men's commission? It's just kind of a simple question. Does anybody have an answer for that? Obviously, it's a rhetorical question. I don't expect you to answer. But I think it would be a very good idea if you're going to have a women's commission, you need to have a men's commission so you can discuss these other issues, health issues and social challenges that are being brought up. Or another solution is don't call it the Women's Commission, make it just the Commission on Basic Health and have both, men and women be able to go into that organization or commission and take care of the issues that come up. So I think you're not being fair to men, obviously. If you only have a women's commission, there's no men's commission. That's just my simple comment. Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor, I have no more calls or cards on this item.
Voted in a motion. Move 12A.
Second.
All right, roll call?
Councilmember Brotman.
Yes.
Garpetian.
Yes.
Kasakian.
Yes.
Najarian.
Yes.
Mayor Asadrian.
Yes. Next.
Next item would be Councilmember Brotman's request for a report on default walk phases at signalized intersections, including cost implications, a review of potential negative effects, and possible locations.
Okay, and I'll just tee this up by repeating some of the things I said last week as Councilmember Garpetian was not here. Starting off with what we learned from the Cal OTS data, which is that Glendale is pretty much at the bottom of the 60 cities that are surveyed as far as pedestrian injuries and death. We're fifth from the bottom, just to be clear, being the worst, the most dangerous. We are fifth from the bottom overall, and we are actually the bottom when it comes to pedestrian injuries and deaths for individuals over 65 years of age. So we do have a serious pedestrian safety issue here. In the pedestrian plan, there were three things that were pointed out that we could do at signalized intersection to save lives. One of them is called pedestrian head starts, or leading pedestrian intervals. When the light turns green for the pedestrian 5 seconds or 7 seconds ahead of the green light for cars. We have implemented that. I don't know if we've implemented that completely, but we've implemented that, I know, in much of our walkable areas. And we also extended what's called walk phase timing, just the amount of time people have to walk to get across the intersection before the light turns in certain areas that are walkable or near schools, near hospitals. There's in the pedestrian plan that lays out what we should do. The one thing that we have not yet done, which the pedestrian plan suggests we do, is to implement what's called default walk phases at signalized intersection. And just to read it again, what the PED plan says, it says that these ensure that a walk signal occurs every cycle without requiring a person to push a button. And studies have shown the longer someone is required to wait for the right-of-way, the more likely they are to cross illegally. The installation of exclusive pedestrian signal phases has been shown to reduce pedestrian collisions by 63%. So my request is that staff look into implementing default walk phases in our pedestrian-heavy areas. I would assume our downtown and maybe some other areas. I'll leave that to staff. I would suggest, and this is something I didn't say last week, but I would suggest considering the Pasadena model. I did speak to the head of Pasadena Department of Transportation, who's a Glendale resident. What they do is they have set the default walk phase only during the daytime. Well, not just during the day, I'm sorry, from like something like, I forget, it's like maybe 9 in the morning until 11 at night. In other words, at night, when there really isn't much pedestrian activity, they don't continue it. So they have it on just at a certain time of the day. And if we did that, I think that might be a wise way to go. I also did ask them about this issue of signals that emit an audible sound for the seeing impaired, and they have a solution to that as well. So you might want to just connect with them, because that we were concerned that might be an obstacle, but it doesn't look like it is. So my motion is to study that, come back with a policy, with a plan to implement default walk signals.
Councilmember Brotman, we will bring a report back for the new business item, and we'll detail all of that in the report and then ask for direction on implementing the policy.
Okay, as long as I get 2 other votes. So I'll move the item.
Madam Mayor, before we make a motion to move that item, I have a card and I have a caller on the line.
I'll second it.
We'll take the card and caller.
Alan Dish, don't want to speak? Okay. Fernando Roldan, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Councilman Rodman, thank you so much for bringing it up, because, you know, I mentioned before in previous meetings that as a person with a disability, you know, unfortunately, the streets are not safe. There are cars that go fast. Glen Oaks is just one of the worst. And, this needs to be really, really fixed, and there needs to be a high commission on this because it's just really awful. And, cars passing by, they don't see you, and I have to scream at them and say, hey, get out of the way. And it really is awful. And I have to thank Councilman Broadman for that. So I ask the mayor and members of the council, please take this very seriously because, it is a pedestrian problem, and especially like myself who uses a wheelchair. Thank you.
Right.
So I'll move it. I don't know if I did already. I'll move
And
it.
there's a second on the floor. Can we have a
Oh,
motion?
I have a comment.
Oh, please.
Well, I'm all for pedestrian safety measures to be in place, but I want to, just to be fair, and this report that we had, didn't have only one number. Overall, on safety rating, traffic safety rating, Glendale is 56 out of 60 between the 5 cities, and the one ahead of us is Fremont, which is 57 out of 60, and 60 being the best number. The higher the number, the better you are. And Fremont has about 40,000 or 35,000 less in population than us. So our rating, I don't want to have this misconception out there or misunderstanding that our traffic safety ratings are in the bottom of the barrel. Pasadena is 35 out of 60. And we need to consider all of this. But I am for the safety measures to put in place for pedestrian safety, but we need to look at the numbers as a whole, all of the numbers that we have out there. And we are doing great compared to all these cities. Look at Huntington Beach is 27 out of 60. Modesto is 2 out of 60 on transportation safety measures.
Right, if I might,
So-
I was just talking about pedestrian safety. So pedestrian safety, we're very, very bad. We're bottom of the barrel.
That's not,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
have a
yeah.
discussion.
Okay.
so-
Just wanted,
All right, we'll talk about it. It's not a problem. It's not a problem. We'll talk about it. But there are other measures that goes into the entire report.
But this is just supposed to be for placement,
Whether
so
to
I don't
agenda.
want to, I
Right.
don't want to go deep, but it looks like you have a comment.
Yeah, so I do have a lot of questions about this, and I will wait for the report to come out. I've done some research as well. It looks like there's probably the majority of the engineers support it, but there is a group that are against it. I'm looking to the report to have this discussion, and so I will support having it before us to dig into it.
Before we move on to oral
you need
communication.
a roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead. Roll call.
Councilmember Brotman,
Yes.
Garpetian,
Yes.
Kasakian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Mayor Asatryan.
Yes.
Mayor, if I might just quickly, I want to add, as to the expectation of bringing these reports back. If you saw my note earlier, we've had 47 requests just over a year, and this is piling up on that number of requests. We've only been able to complete 30% of them, so we have quite a large number of reports that we need to bring back to council per your request.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Before we move on to oral communication, I actually feel pretty awful about this because I thought we had one more meeting. But our Glendale Water and Power Director, Mark Young, is retiring. I was hoping to have him at his last meeting. I thought it was going to be August 2nd, but he's served our residents for over 35 years. And so I just wanted to say thank you. Love for us to put something together for Mark for his retirement. Just wanted to say thank you for your service. And, if he is able to make it to the following meeting or the meeting after, I would love to have that be done in public. And I'm just saddened that I was under the impression we had one more meeting with him. So thank you again, Mr. Young, for your service.
I
All
have
right.
a question for city manager.
Yes.
So, in order to put items that adds up to that 47 items on your plate, I know the system was changed, and we make a motion this week, let's say, and it's placed on the agenda for next week, and we discuss it to have 3 votes to bring it back and have a discussion about it and make a decision one way or the other, right?
Correct, or provide
Okay.
direction.
And this, I think in some of this decisions that needs or items that needs a decision, I think we need to be a little bit not careful but cognizant of the fact that when we put note and file in there, like the item that we had today, and I think it was very embarrassing to go talk about it over and over again in different meetings, different sessions, and bring it back and talk about it to nauseam, and then say, okay, let's note and file because we don't want to make a decision. I don't know that note and file portion that comes into the reports. I don't have an issue with losing a vote. If the vote was for Mr. Brotman to be appointed, I don't have an issue with it. Or the vote was not to remove him, but just to say note and file on an issue that we knew why is it coming back. It was either removal and reappointment. But I just want to put that out there that I think it's not good optics, and especially with the residents, that we put an item this week, we make a motion, put it on the agenda. The following week, we take a vote to bring it back. Then when it comes back, it's just, okay, let's note and file. And it takes a lot from staff to prepare the reports and do all the work and put it on the agenda and go back and forth. And that will be a help to you. If we don't want to make a decision on an item, let's not agendize it, because I think that's wrong, and it's embarrassing. That's all I have to say.
Madam Mayor, yeah, item number 13 is oral communications. Discussion is limited to items not a part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Council may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decisions. The city manager may refer the matter to the appropriate department for investigation and report. Madam Mayor, I have a card and a caller. Aris Mangasaryan, you have 5 minutes, Aris.
Good evening, council members, town council, town management. My name is Aris Mangasarian. I reside at 1116 Rosedale Avenue, Glendale. I'm a Juris Doctor graduate from USC Gould School of Law. Today I present significant concerns about inaccuracies and inappropriate content in public records stemming from recent inspection of my residence. Accurate public records are essential not only for individual cases like mine, but for maintaining trust and integrity in our community's governance and service. I have provided each of you with a detailed printed report that outlines the specific issues and supporting documentation. This report includes inspector notes, email correspondences, relevant legal statutes, third-party inspection reports, and a summary of my legal dispute. The contents of this report will help clarify the concerns I am presenting today. The situation began with 2 complaints to the city. First, regarding a discrepancy between the county assessor's listed number of units and the actual number of units on the property that I live, stemming from my inquiries into why our tenant rights have not been invoked, our right to lease specifically. Second, concerning a rodent infestation and insufficient installation per the current code for installation. Inspector Keenan Lyons, under the supervision of Ms. Tamar Saad, conducted the inspection. The resulting notes from this inspection include personal legal strategies and misstate critical details about my residency and compliance, adversely affecting my ongoing legal and housing situation. Specific issues. Inappropriate information in public records. The inspection notes improperly included details about my personal legal strategies related to civil matters. These details are irrelevant to the inspector's official duties, serve no public interest, and should never have been included in public record. 2, the records erroneously state that I reside in a different unit and falsely claim that I refused inspection access. In reality, I reside in a different unit and have always ensured access to my apartment for inspections. 3, neglect of essential duties. Significant habitability concerns such as inadequate installation and rodent infestations were reported but disregarded by the inspector. This neglect contradicts the duties outlined in California Health and Safety Code section 1792 0.3, which mandates that such health and safety concerns be thoroughly addressed. Moreover, the conduct of Ms. Saad and the Community Development Department has demonstrated a pattern of similar issues. Despite my attempts to resolve these matters at the supervisory level, I encountered significant resistance which only served to exasperate the situation. The presence of these inaccuracies and the inappropriate disclosure of personal information in public records have not only intensified retaliatory actions by my landlord, but have also compromised my legal standing. Addressing these issues is crucial not only for my personal situation, but also to uphold the integrity of our public documentation system and protect the interests of all residents. I respectfully request the council to direct the immediate correction of these public records, ensuring the removal of inaccurate and inappropriate details, reaffirm and enforce the obligations of housing inspectors to strictly adhere to their responsibilities, particularly in addressing reported habitability issues comprehensively. It is vital that the rules already on the books are enforced to protect tenants and maintain trust in our housing systems. Investigate broader patterns of behavior within the Community Development Department and the limited resource available for enforcing tenant rights to prevent the misuse of public records for retaliatory purposes. I appreciate your attention to these critical issues and trust that we can collaborate to ensure the accuracy and appropriateness of our public records. Thank you for your dedication to justice and transparency in our community. Thank you.
All right, and we have one caller.
Maro Yakubian, you have 5 minutes. Maro?
Hi, good evening. I can't be the only one listening to this council meeting and hearing how the city clerk's office during invocation completely avoided any mention of the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. It has been an immensely shocking and heavy-hearted time for our country. Yet, what do we hear from the city clerk's office? A reminder, in case we forgot over the past 7 days, that we are standing on the Gabrielino Tongva tribal land. Not sure if Mr. Arjemian was reading a pre-written statement, but I will tell you one thing. Until Susie Abajan is removed from this office, her continued political poison will be injected into the veins of our city through the Commission on the Status of Women or through invocation. But let's talk about this idea Mr. Kasakian brought up in his comments about how this assassination attempt is a wake-up call. But Mr. Kasakian, surely you mean it must be a wake-up call for Assemblywoman Laura Friedman, whose vitriol and inflammatory comments against the former president no doubt played a part in this sickening narrative. She has a splatter of blood on her hands. So does Schiff. So does Biden and all the other crazed progressives who have Trump derangement syndrome. And while Mr. Kasakian tried his best in his comments to appear like he's trying to bridge the divide of rhetoric and hatred, it is beyond laughable to me. Because let's be mindful just how all of you progressive socialists on the dais have used your words to dog whistle the attacks on innocent citizens of this city. That is abhorrent. As you all feed information to your twisted henchmen on social media to go after citizens. Stop pretending that your hands are clean. As for me, Mr. Kasakian, you love to stand on your soapbox and pontificate. But let's remember, it was you who attacked me when I had the courage to stand up against the desecration of our sacred Armenian daughters by a man during his striptease act. You know damn well that what they did was unacceptable. It was degrading. It was an insult to Armenian women. Yet, you, in your attempt to pander to the LGBTQ community, chose to throw an upstanding Armenian mother of 4, a volunteer for numerous charities, a community servant. You threw me under the bus by insinuating I was homophobic, setting all the unhinged LGBTQ individuals after me. You're disgusting, Mr. Kasakian. You calculated that pandering to this unaccountable Gallus group would serve you better in the long run than having the moral courage to simply say what they did was wrong. So you are absolutely the last person who should be advising others how to act. Your actions and your words set a tax on Armenian mothers. So don't ever try to come across as a diplomatic man who tries to make bridges across the divide. Start with your own actions before advising others how to act. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, before we adjourn, I'd like to read the biography of Aline Helm Merchant Demakis, who retired in 2002 from Glendale Central Library and Brand Library. Aline was the eldest of 5 siblings, was born to Eugene and Viola Helm, and raised in Chicago, Illinois. In 1965, she received a Bachelor's of Science degree in education from Chicago Teachers College and pursued a first career in teaching. Upon moving to Los Angeles, Aline knew that she would continue to her education due to becoming a librarian, and worked at public and corporate libraries while taking graduate classes. In 1981, after receiving a Master's of Library and Information Science from the University of Southern California, Aline became the only full-time Black librarian in the Glendale Public Library system as a Central Library Reference librarian, later becoming a cataloging librarian, then senior librarian for Brand Library Operations, and finally head of technical services before retiring in 2002. Aline especially loved curating the library's music, art, and special collections. A passion for cultural preservation and education led Aline to curate personal collections of African American art and serve as artist representatives for her first cousin and artist Kofi Bailey. An active volunteer, Aline was a member and volunteer of the Los Angeles Conservancy for over 25 years, which nurtured her interest in architecture and historic preservation. She also served for a number of other organizations, including but not certainly limited to the American Library Association, the California Librarians Black Caucus, the NAACP, and KCET. While this can't be completely fact-checked, I was told that perhaps she was also the first Black employee of the city of Glendale. It's thought to be the case. They couldn't 100% confirm it, but wanted me to pass that along as well. And so I had requested that we adjourn in her memory. If I can have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn in memory of Aline Helm Merchant.
Second.
All right. We're adjourned at 9:09 p.m.